Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. It is Thursday. It's December. I can't believe I'm saying the word December, but it's December the 3rd, 2020. We're almost there, guys. We're almost there. The end of 2020 is approaching. I can't promise it's going to mean anything dramatically different, at least not until, the 20th of January? And then we get at least a mild change? Otherwise, hey, at least we can start writing down a different year on the calendar. You know, it's nice. We're getting closer. We're getting closer. Before just a little under 4 more weeks. It's another Technological podcast. Glad you guys could join us here today. If you're new here, we talk about video games and movies and TV and all manner of fuckery that we put our own little spin on and hope that people actually give a shit. Odds are nobody does, but if we can make it entertaining, at least we've accomplished that much. But before we hop in and do any of that, the most important question of each and every week is this. Mr. Black, how was your week?
Busy.
It was a busy week for you. You've been carrying, flooring, and stripping baseboards and freezing your ass off in a only partially finished space whilst doing all of these things. I guess you're kind of like lucked out in that we haven't gotten like bone ass cold yet. We've had a couple of like 10-degree days, but nevertheless, it is shocking how cold a room can get. It can actually be colder inside than outside. Yeah,
it's not too bad. It's not bad at the property because now there's electric heat in there, so.
Oh, that's on now.
Yeah.
Oh,
they
okay,
had
there
a
you go.
bunch of space heaters in there to like keep the place warm, so wasn't too bad. But yeah, I'm just dead today. I'm absolutely dead. I got home at like 3:00 and took a nap for about 30 minutes, 40 minutes.
Boom.
And then slapped some shit on and came down here. Probably wake up as this is going, but I've just been go.
I got you. I got you. I can run my mouth with the best of them. I'll carry it when necessary. We're on the beach, you're looking down, you're only seeing one set of footprints. It's because I was carrying you.
Okay.
I don't know why that struck me as so funny. I think I'm a little overtired myself. Not because I got 3 hours. I think I might have actually slept a little too long, and I've gone back the other direction. We didn't set an alarm today because M didn't work. And sometimes that results in like waking up and feeling nice and fresh. And other times it results in sleeping way fucking longer than you should. And then you just feel more tired than you would have if you just got the fuck out of bed. I think that's where both of us are at today. So we're a little kooky. Either way, got a pretty good show lined up for you today as always, guys. And I mean, my week wasn't anything particularly exciting. The most exciting thing that happened to me this week was that my new chair arrived. So I tried out the Aeron at this point it's been over a month, but because of COVID, it takes them a while to like pick the chair up from your house if you're returning it. Obviously, it takes a little longer these days. And so, but while that process was going, I looked up, I was like, I've spent more time looking at chairs than any human probably should. But the sciatica in my right leg got so bad, I was like, I will literally, if I spent $2,500 on a chair and my sciatica's getting this bad, I will hate myself for the rest of my life if I don't fucking change this chair. So, I went online and looked. And the biggest problem is my legs are so long, is that to avoid sciatica, more than just having a decently cushioned seat, is the seat needs to be long enough to get close to the back of your knees. Like your thighs have to be supported for as long out as possible, ideally to within like a couple of inches of the back of your knees. And with the Aeron, even the size C, I mean, there was a fucking football field between the end of the seat and the back of my knees, and the width of it. I'm not a heavy person, obviously. I look at my bone structure, I'm like a fucking sissy bitch, but I'm still 6'6", so I'm broad. So when I sat in the chair, my like hip, my legs and shit were against the plastic cupped edges of the seat. It's not like because it's the mesh seat. It's not like the one you're sitting on. It has an actual rim. And that was just right digging into the sides of my legs and shit. as well, just because even though it was a wider seat being the size C, it wasn't enough. So I went online, looked around some more, and I found this chair, which is by a company that basically just deals with selling shit directly to offices most of the time. And been around for a long time. They do sell on Amazon and stuff occasionally, but it was on Costco. And Costco is great because the return policy is incredible, and since we have one close by, if I didn't like the chair, I can take it back. Whereas if you're buying a chair from somebody else that isn't Herman Miller, you're fucked. Like, what are you going to do? Disassemble the chair and try and put it back in the box and somehow miraculously send it back? It's not going to happen. So with the Costco one, I was like, oh, great. Well, worst case scenario, I literally stick it in the back of the RAV and I take it to Costco and I'm done. So I looked it up. This thing is a big bitch. It's almost comical. When this is all said and done, Jeff, and you get over to the house the first time in 6 years, you see this thing, it looks like a cartoon character. It doesn't even look like a fucking chair. Like, the cushion on it is enormous. It legitimately is the biggest thing I've ever seen. It's like you took a couch cushion and stuck it on a fucking, like, five-star base. That's what it looks like. It's huge. It's 4 inches thick. Like, the bottom, like, the pad I'm sitting on is this thick. And because it's made for big, it's a big and tall chair. So I'm not the big part, but I'm the tall part. And my lack of ass appreciates the 4 inches of foam all the same. So it was a bonus. But it's it's a little over 21 inches deep, like the seat. So it's actually quite long. It's not perfect. My legs would require like 22, I guess, ideally, but it doesn't exist. I literally have searched the internet. It doesn't exist. And it's 22 inches across, and there's no rim, so my legs don't get dug into. I have, like, more proper support. My sciatica, literally in the first day, I sat in it yesterday, I built it yesterday. My sciatica calmed down like 80% in one day, switching from the Aeron to sitting in this chair. The other nice thing, after tax and shipping, shade over $500.
Nice.
1/4. Actually, oh yeah, but even a little less than 1/4 of the cost of the Aeron. The gas lift, lifetime warranty. The base and anything that's like medical or mechanical, lifetime warranty. The seat cushion and the back, which is all easily replaceable if you need to, like it's not like the Aeron, it's not unibody, 3 years. So, and it's made for 40-hour work week for somebody that weighs 400 fucking pounds. So this thing isn't going to somehow disintegrate underneath of me at any given time. I also removed the armrests on it because I have a habit of doing like the whole fucking leaning all day, and then my back is fucked by the end of the day. And I catch myself sometimes, like when I'm on, like yesterday I was on stream, and I went to put my hands down to kind of like scooch myself, and there's fucking nothing underneath my hands. But it's getting rid of that habit, and I like getting rid of the arms because, again, I like sitting, I don't know about you, I know you like sitting cross-legged too, but I like sitting really close to my desk. I don't like being like the fuck back here. And when the arms are on, sometimes it's like super difficult to even get remotely close. So having to be able to take the arms off was amazing. So I'm liking it so far. Lumbar support can also move up and down. So $500, lifetime warranty on shit. And it fits my legs. I'm all in. So the Aeron is going to get yeeted into the sun, and I'll get my money back on that. So I just saved myself like $2,000, and I got a chair that fits me better. So thumbs up. So if you're listening to this right now, Costco has it. It's like because it's Costco and they don't have the exact name on it, but you'll see it. It's big. It's a big and tall mesh back and mesh seat. It's like it's like $369 in the US. It's not even a $400 chair in the US. It's like fucking dirt cheap with lifetime warranty on the mechanical parts. So if you're a big guy, tall guy, or both, I cannot recommend it enough. It's certainly better than all the other ones I sat in, and it will save you a lot of money. Anyway, that was my whole week. That was exciting as my week was. Take him to work and find a new chair that doesn't kill my sciatica. Check. Also, trying to figure out Christmas presents for my parents, which I don't know about you, but it gets harder every year. Are you just at the give them money stage?
Oh yeah, I've been at that stage. I've been there. There's nothing I can think of to buy my parents. So we came up, Em had the good ideas because, the woman, way bigger brain than I am in terms of like kind of gifts are unique, came up with a cool idea. So I helped her work on that one. And that's
that's been it. Played some Hearthstone. National Neil Diamond Day, December 1st. Had my National Neil Diamond Day. First one that had to be bring your own music, unfortunately, because Twitch is, DMCA stuff. I couldn't technically play the Christmas album Volume 2. I doubt that would have got me in trouble, but I wasn't about to risk it anyway, so linked the playlist and played my Hearthstone and called it a day. Gaming news, Mr. Black's what we're here for. Nobody needs to hear about me talk about a chair for 20 minutes, but I'm just trying to give you some time to wake up. Time to talk about gaming news. First up, also Twitch related, so a nice segue, all the same. Twitch is testing a boost feature. You probably saw this pop up on your timeline. A boost feature that would allow select streams to get more visibility on the platform. Once notified, so you get a notification, I guess, probably in the top of your chat so you can't see anything like every other notification in chat. Once notified, a stream and its community can use their channel points to pool together for the cause of getting the stream. Oh, thank you, Lo. For getting the stream onto, and this is a quote, more like highly visible parts of the platform. They didn't elaborate on what highly visible parts means, but that's what they're saying. Twitch ultimately would decide who gets this opportunity at any given time. I'm guessing they're going to say there's a maximum number of streams that can have the opportunity at any given time. They'll randomly send that shit out. Whether or not somebody uses it is up to them or the community, etc., etc. Channel points are required for completion, or the channel points that are required for completing the scale, or for completion, will scale with the channel size. So if you're a bigger stream, you can't, it's not like you get the same points as somebody who's got 50 viewers, because obviously that would be hideously abusable. It'd be like, these big streamers would just clog the whole fucking thing up and be game over. So it scales. We don't know what that scale is. We don't even know what the formula is, in terms of how many channel points yet. But they did confirm that, at the very least, the bigger the stream, the more points would be required. The early concerns that I spotted were that, like I just said, even with those scaling things, because we don't know what the scale is, these aren't my concerns, but this is what I'm seeing, the larger streams will still actually end up benefiting from this more than smaller streams, which is like the target audience for this feature, depending on the scaling. And then what the other question was that somebody had was, and I think this is valid too, is what happens when everyone that it's made available to, so let's say a day goes out and Twitch sends their shit out, what happens when they all decide to make use of it at the same time? So when we don't know what they mean by more visible spots on the site, if everyone's gets all their points in at the same time and they're all active, how does that play out? Is it just like another bar on the browse list? Does that get overpopulated so that some people, so people just had questions about that. Not really like a crazy concern, but a valid question all the same. So what are your thoughts, Mr. Black, on the boost feature? It's obviously something that Twitch is trying to figure out a way to increase visibility of some smaller streams, but what do you think?
I think it's a good idea. It finally gives people a reason to use their points. Because points are just, I think personally,
on most streams, points are useless. Only a handful.
On almost all streams, they're useless. I mean, it's a meme. Yeah. I mean, points, in my opinion, were implemented from Twitch to make the viewer think as though I need to stay on this channel as long as possible to collect these points.
Yeah.
And all that does is hold the retention viewership for Twitch to sell advertisements and get more sponsorships, and sell packages. That's what I believe ultimately is for, because they didn't come up with anything that really directly helps the streamer.
Yeah.
So it's nice to see there's something coming here. All these other concerns that people have or questions, I don't think they're concerns at all. I mean, they'll figure out a way. I don't think the big streamers are going to be benefiting any more than what they already do.
Yeah.
So, at the end of the day, it just gives people that normally don't have visibility an opportunity to be seen. And I think that's great.
Yeah, I agree. I can't foresee, again, like you said, big streamers, it's not like it's going to suddenly benefit them more than they already are. They're already on the most visible parts of the site. So it's not likely to really be a big issue there. And that's on top of how they're scaling it, and it's not difficult to set a scale that is reasonably going to, keep that in check, where they can't just abuse the system and maintain status there. I think it's a great idea. It's certainly I can understand the logic behind this. I mean, Twitch, like YouTube as well, has gotten to a size where it's very difficult to manage discoverability. You know, it's obvious to I think, like, when people think discoverability, the thing that they often lock in on, and it's valid, is that the suggested channels are almost always the biggest channels, regardless of your tastes or what you watch. People were laughing about this the other day, where they were watching me, and then on the browse page or whatever, it was suggesting to watch me again anyway. Like, so just a wasted spot. Or they watch like very specific content on Twitch, but they're still getting suggested IRL chat girls eating at a restaurant or some shit. That they would never watch and have never had any remote interest in or have ever clicked on a channel. So when they talk about discoverability, it's usually that they see the highest end people being suggested all the time and not making use of suggesting smaller streams that are related to the content that they also already watch on the platform. That's another thing entirely that I think Twitch could absolutely clean up dramatically. But to Twitch's credit here, this is useful in a couple of ways, in my opinion. One, it allows Twitch to also make sure that anyone that gets boosted isn't just a random streamer. You know, you don't want the system to be automated, which I'm sure it will be automated quite heavily, because it's so many streamers, you can't just like manually start picking people all the time. But whereby, you know, you don't want to pull up a channel that just started 2 days ago and they've got 0 viewers and they're an inexperienced streamer.
You can't, because you need points, right?
No, so but that's what I'm getting. That's what I'm
time to accumulate points, and then even when you use your points,
and that's what I'm getting at, is that to Twitch's credit, that this is a good way to help with the automation of it, whereby it almost vets the channel for them, right?
Yes.
It at least ensures that there is a high amount or a certain threshold of amount of engagement within these streams before they get put up and featured, which is good. And it's also not something that people have to spend money, it's just their time. Do they spend a lot of time on a channel? Odds are they're going to want to spend their channel points to help promote the stream across the website. So I think this is definitely a very useful feature. And I'll be very interested in the development of it and how it's implemented, how many people in a day are available to be able to use it. And to just watch it in action. I'll be very intrigued to watch it in action. I'll probably pull it up when this is eventually made live and just see how it does at populating those areas of the site, to see just how good it is at pulling out some diamonds from the rough kind of thing, pulling up the gems. There's so many streamers in the like 100 to 500 viewer range that just have been treading water for ages and ages. It's mostly just because they haven't had a lot of visibility, or they're in communities that wouldn't likely get a lot of traction on the platform anyway. And to have this happen, you know, it doesn't guarantee them success, but it at least gives them an opportunity to maybe get a couple more eyeballs. So, I'm thumbs up for this. I like to shit on Twitch all the time, but you know what, today? No dumping on Twitch. I'm giving them 2 thumbs up for the effort on this one. I think this is a good move, and I hope that they... I guess my biggest hope is that they actually take suggestions from their their content creators in helping develop this, because, you know, it would be useful for once for them to do that. Next up, into some actual gaming stuff. Rumors have kicked back up from a much more credible source. The man that actually leaked the the God of War Ragnarok, I think it was, news. So somebody who has leaked stuff in the past, credibly so, has come out and said that Kojima is in fact working on a Silent Hill game as we speak. This has been rumored several times before, but it was never confirmed. It's still not necessarily confirmed, but this is the most credible rumor that has kicked up from it since. We've talked about it on the podcast in the past where Kojima himself came out saying he's like reading a bunch of horror novels and really getting engrossed in the horror genre, watching a bunch of movies. So we knew he was likely going to be working on some sort of horror-related game of some kind. Everyone was hoping, well, not everyone, but I'm projecting here. I was hoping that meant Silent Hills was going to make a comeback after Konami dropped the big fat dick hammer on it and couldn't turn it into a pachinko machine. And so now, obviously with Kojima having his own studio and whatnot, it seems more likely. This was the Silent Hills, I don't know if you remember, was going to be Kojima working with Guillermo del Toro in collaboration to make a horror game, which seemed like a really cool and really awesome combo of people to make a horror game. And I'm sure somehow Norman Reedus is going to make his way into the game as well. It wouldn't shock me. They seem to be buddy-buddy now, so it wouldn't shock me to see him get in there. But that's exciting, because I think the horror genre could use some more heavier hitters, and certainly as a Silent Hill fan, I mean, my God, just give me some good Silent Hill. As long as it's not in Konami's hands, give me some Silent Hill. Please. Related to that, coincidentally, chalking up another one. Just like last week, we talked about another new studio coming out from industry veterans starting up their own small studios. Bokeh Game Studios, started up by Kiichiro Toyama. You know, you ever read a name in your head and you can do it with an accent and everything perfectly, and then the moment you try and fucking say it out loud, it's just a complete gong show? That's me with every Japanese name that I read. I have watched enough fucking, like, weeb shit and whatnot to be able to, like, pull it off in my head, and the moment it leaves my lips, my God, just an absolute gong show. Regardless, he's the man that created Silent Hill. Coincidentally enough. And so he started up this new studio, and I'm guessing by the video that they posted and the art that we were seeing in the background of, like, B-roll footage, looking like more horror games. And again, fuck me, the dude who made Silent Hill, give me more horror games. Yes, give me that. It doesn't have to be Silent Hill, just make more horror games. Because Silent Hill is a good fucking start. If you can capture that lightning in a bottle twice, all the power to you. So there you go. And now for more Sony news. Sony's been, like, cranking out the news. Xbox hasn't had a lick of fucking news in a couple of weeks, but there's been lots of stuff. Not that Sony themselves is the one releasing this shit, but it just so happens that there's been a lot of Sony news as of late. Sony releases some of the reasons why they decided to develop the activities function of the PS5, which lets players instantly travel to quest locations, etc. to speed up games. This is especially being used, as I've seen on my timeline, for, you know, side quests, or, you know, people who are completionists, but they have kids now, and they don't want to run around the map for an hour and a half looking for the area. They just go into the activities page, they're listed, click on it, brings you to the location, and you can just go ahead and do that quest. They created this, so this is why. They did a survey. I will pull up here. They did a survey of about 3,000 players for this. This was like an internal Sony meeting where they were discussing this, where the key problems that came out of the survey that players were listing was that, one, they had no idea how long I might need, and don't play unless I have 2+ free hours. Takes a lot of time to scan through long help videos when stuck. How to engage socially without the risk of spoilers, so going to look for solutions to their problems in a game without getting spoiled. And forgot what I was doing in the game the last time, and hard to get back into. So somebody that might have been playing a longer game, let's say they're playing a JRPG, like a Persona 5 or something, and it's like a 100-hour game, and you played 20, 30 hours, and then life happens, and you don't get back to it for a couple weeks, you come back and you've kind of forgotten what was going on. That was another one of the things that came up in in their survey. And so the activities thing, the feature, was designed with these kind of things in mind to try and help players that are in these situations to do so safely without risk of spoilers, and to be able to still enjoy the game and things in the game that they want to enjoy, but they don't necessarily have 2+ hours of free time to get around to doing, instead of just clicking on the activity, getting to it in the game, and actually accomplishing said task. I think it's a great idea. I was kind of like skeptical about it at first because I didn't know how many developers would take the time to really properly implement it in the games, but at least up to this point, and we're still early days, though I suspect that if it's being used right now, it's a good chance it will continue to be used in the future. It's been relatively well used, and a lot of people have had positive things to say about it. Nobody's really had anything particularly negative. It's definitely helped for people who are interested in getting the most out of their games, but again, don't always have all that time. I mean, if you weren't, for example, if you weren't doing this for your work and you were off doing something else, I mean, the amount of hours in the day that you would have to sit down and play games would be pretty dramatically reduced. And so, I know, like, for me, when I first read this, what dawned on me is I forget that I'm doing this for a fucking living. So when I know that you do RP, so it's not the same, but even when you do a Let's Play and you play for like 4 to 6 hours in one sitting, that's not necessarily representative of the majority of people playing games. You don't get to sit down for 8 hours all the time. Some people will block out or like take time off work. A new game like Cyberpunk 2077 comes out. All of a sudden, everyone has like, I don't know, fucking polio, and they're fucking out of work for like 2 straight weeks, and all they're gonna do is drink gamer fuel and fucking inject it directly into their main vein and play Cyberpunk for 2 straight weeks. And there are obviously people that will dedicate as much time as possible to gaming, but it's still not the norm to play 8 hours every single day on video games. It's just not the norm. So for people that have kids or whatever at that stage of their life, and they're working and they only have like 1 to 3 hours but 3 hours with fucking god tier, but let's say 1 to 3 hours in a sitting, I can totally appreciate why this would be a super valuable tool to have. And honestly, as somebody who likes to be a bit completionist myself, I could probably see myself using it, and I'm sitting in front of my computer doing this shit as a living. So, I'm thumbs up on it. Do you think, if you were playing these games, do you think you'd make use of the activities thing if you were trying to get like side quests and stuff done, or do you think you'd just go at it the old-fashioned way?
I mean, I'm old school. I'm teetering more on the side of I like this than not, but I also don't like this in a way. And listen, if somebody's going to pay $80 for a video game, or $100 or whatever these games are going to cost at this console, say $100. I mean, people have the right to enjoy that game the way they want to enjoy it. So if they want, it's like buying a movie on Blu-ray. I mean, if you want to skip certain parts of the movie, or you want to fast forward to certain parts, or you want to, leave the room and take a piss without pressing pause, you're free to you paid for it. You're free to experience it however which way you choose. So on that side of things, I think it's a good thing. Because options are good. On the other side of things, I'm not a fan of it on the fact that, for one, it will undermine the
Undermiming would be even better.
Undermiming. It undermines the effort and the achievement that other gamers do by figuring shit out themselves, by getting lost, by not giving up, by finding their way back. When I hear things like, oh, well, I don't want to go on the internet and potentially look up, spoilers on how to get to a spot and get spoiled. It's like, motherfucker, you're going to look for a spoiler. You just want to pick and choose what spoilers you have. And listen, once again, you pay the $80 or $100. You can choose how you want to experience the game. I'm not telling you that. But as a gamer and a purist and an OG, I think that there is something. I mean, we talked about this on a podcast not too long ago where we talked about, Dark Souls or whatever, not catering to the casuals, keeping the game hard. And I do believe the both of us were on the side of keep it hard. This is the type of game. If you can't muster up the skills to play it, or you just don't want to learn how to be skillful enough to defeat said bosses or the game, then that sounds like a you problem. But then you've also got the other side that's like, well, I don't want to struggle. I just want to play it for the story, or I just want to get through it. Like I'm stuck here and I want to complete it. Like I get it. But on one end, if Final Fantasy 16 comes out and you're playing it on your PS5 and you've got the developer has made 50 hours worth of side quests and you can go on an achievement list and click a warp essentially to where you need to go to do said quest, it just doesn't feel right. For me, as a gamer, it feels like cheating. It feels like you've put in a cheat code and now you're handed stuff. It's like playing StarCraft and typing in "show me the money." It's like playing Mortal Kombat and doing up, up, down, B, A, down, B, B, A, B, down, 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 and getting all the characters unlocked, or having unlimited lives in Contra. It just feels like you're taking it. It feels as though, and I get why Sony would want to do it, because it caters to another audience that may give up on their game, may not experience all of it, and thus maybe not enjoy it enough to buy the next one. Maybe the story is really good and they just want people to get through the game to really have that full visualization of the game, and that way they'll appreciate it. Instead, their memory of it is getting stuck in a hallway for 2 hours, and then eventually they're like, bro, this is fucking, no, this ain't it. And then they leave, even though they probably would have really enjoyed the game. So I get that, but at the same time, we're gamers here. That's the part of the video games, is muscling through, figuring it out. If you need the odd hint, yeah, go to YouTube, do your own thing. I'm not a fan of doing that purposely. I mean, I did it when I was in my teens, and you're plowing through so many games, and sometimes you go to like Game FAQ to make sure that you're completing what you need to get. Like, I get that. But I mean, at the same time, like, this is a feature that's built in. Now, I understand at the same time that developers also have to opt in to do this. So it is a developer's discretion. But something kind of tells me that they may either be incentivized to do this from Sony. There might be a kickback. There might be a little bit of something extra if they allow this feature to be a thing. Because why advertise this feature if no game developer is gonna use it? I mean, I guarantee you, when Sony goes to a developer, it's pitched, we would like you to have this, or could you do this for certain missions within your game? Can you create specific missions for this feature? And it just, I don't know. Maybe there are other gamers out there that's listening to this that feels the way I feel about this.
I'm sure there are.
Imagine a gamer that busts their ass and they get full 100% completion on Red Dead Redemption or Grand Theft Auto or Witcher or God of War or Mario, whatever. I'm just throwing names out there that takes hours and hours to do, to find every star or banana or whatever. And you got to find these secret locations. And yeah, sometimes dialogue, an area is in this little part of a dialogue on a side character somewhere, and you got to go out and find it. Or you're playing Skyrim or Morrowind, and you bust your ass and you achieve it. And then you see other people achieving the same level almost effortlessly by the click of a button. It diminishes their achievement. It's almost a slap in the face to the ones that are achieving this. You know what it is, Adam? This is everyone gets a medal. That's what this is. In a weird roundabout way. Hey, I'm the better gamer. Hey, I worked harder. I did this faster. Because a lot of it is time related too. I did this faster because when you play a game and you get 100%, the only way to do better than that is to do it faster. Because once everybody gets to one level, everybody gets to one level. There's no way to differentiate who actually did it better, except for the fact that the time. Hey, you did this in 8 hours. I did this in 7 hours, 56 minutes. Got you. Go back to the drawing board, bud. Instead, it's the click of a button. So, in one way, listen, people can enjoy the game the way they want. I'm not taking that away from them. But I'd be a liar if I said it didn't feel not right. It doesn't sit right with me.
Yeah, I think, like you said right at the beginning, options are good. And it's options from top to bottom, right? It's options for the developer to include it. It's options for the player to use it. And I agree that options are ideal. I don't have a problem like the Dark Souls example. I wouldn't have a problem with them having an easier mode as long as it means that their default modes or whatever aren't affected. Like, if you're going to give me the same Dark Souls experience that I played through originally, and then you're going to release a remaster that has that same difficulty, but then a step down for somebody who maybe just really likes the lore or whatever, then fuck if I care. I'm still playing.
What happens if they warp right to each boss?
So I'm not at that point yet. I'm not at that point yet.
Yeah.
I'm just talking about like difficulty as a thing in terms of options, because it is ultimately it's an option, right?
But getting to a place and figuring out is part of the difficulty.
Oh no! I'm not talking about. I'm not talking necessarily about Sony's thing yet. I'm just talking about difficulty level, not that part. Yeah. I'm gonna get to that part. So as far as difficulty as an option, that is, as long as you don't fuck with the standard difficulty, the harder difficulties, or you still provide that, I don't give a shit. Because, for me, it means I'm still playing the difficulty I was always going to play anyway. And if somebody like, M wants to play the game and she's not nearly as mechanically inclined for certain genres as I would be, but she still wants to play it, easy mode is there, great, awesome, and then maybe she likes it so much she wants to up the difficulty later on, even better. Great. So now, as far as as Sony's implementation of this activities thing, for me, the only part that would make me, and you kind of touched on it towards the end, the last part of your discussion was where I would agree most with you, is that when it comes to achievements, so if activities and using activities does not alter, like if there's no asterisks on your achievement, right? It's not, I completed, let's say I 100%ed Red Dead Redemption 2, right? If you did that with activities and there's no asterisks there, now you're diminishing. Now activities is diminishing the achievement itself, of actually 100%ing it on your own and not relying on activities. Whether or not somebody went to YouTube and looked up the solution is whatever, but it adds another layer where it's even more accessible and plants you in front of things. That's even more of a detriment to the achievements. As far as from a gameplay perspective, I don't give a fuck, because again, it's an option. People can do it. The only thing it really hurts is achievements. Really and truly. It's like if you're amongst your friend group, like you're saying, you're comparing, like, look what I did, and then somebody else said, well, yeah, I did that too, and you'll never know whether or not they used activities or not to achieve the same thing, then yeah, that's about the only thing for, like, as far as gaming, bravado goes. But like from just being able to sit down and do something because it takes less time and it cuts down on you running around looking for the starting point of the quest. I mean, does it diminish the game experience? For me, it would, which is why I wouldn't personally use it. But I'm not everyone. So if somebody else doesn't give a fuck about that and they just want to do the thing, and they don't care about the journey of getting to that thing, that's not a part of their gaming experience that they find particularly important to them, then they can go ahead and fucking use it all they want. What I have here in my notes that I question is, I have it here, I'll just read it. I said, while I think this is a great idea, I can't help but wonder, and this is a kind of a two-part thing, I can't help but wonder if it's also an indication of poor game design. So, like, games, for example, as time has gone on, have become more and more about, having collectathons in them. Every adventure game or every whatever, it's like, how many of this, like, insert random item can you collect that we've hidden shit all over the map? Or, menial questing, where like, Final Fantasy VII Remake, 90% of the side quests are, like, fetch quests, or walk from one side of town to the other, and have two, like,
it's
completely...
like MMO questing.
Yeah, it's like completely useless filler content that means nothing. And doesn't add to the story at all, but it's just there to pad content. And now, with activities, it's like, yeah, I already know that most of this is just frivolous bullshit, but I want to do it to get the most out of the game. But knowing that it's frivolous bullshit, what do I care if I skip the line in terms of, like, running around to find it? Just let me click on the thing and start the quest and be done with it. It solves that problem, but what I'm getting at is, does this being a thing also hint at the fact that a lot of game design now is kind of lazy in that regard? In an ideal situation, especially, let's continue to use the open world situation where this is the most obviously applicable, open world games, adventure games, and RPGs where there's that many kind of quests and activities to do in the first place, is ideally a side quest adds to the story in some way that isn't necessary to understand or appreciate the main story beats, but can give you a bigger appreciation for certain smaller portions of those story beats or characters involved in that story. And when that's the case, and when you've crafted this big open world, it gives you, or the player, a reason to go off the beaten path. If you just mainline the story, the main story, you're not going to go off the beaten path and see all of these wonderful places that the level designers spent all this time crafting, these nice set piece moments or areas, visually, or with cutscenes that might be involved in the questing, etc. In a perfect world, you don't need volume, you just need a handful of these, and it allows the player to explore the world, see more of it, like have them appreciate the work done there, get some quests that actually mean something to the story. It's not, like I said, not necessary, but it's additive in an appreciable way, and then that's it. But when you get to a point where it's like Assassin's Creed, I'll use as an example, where as the series went on and on and on, how many collectibles were on that map gave people PTSD? You pull up a map of fucking Assassin's Creed and all the collectibles on it, and you can't even see the map. It's just icons fucking everywhere. It's like Tim Hortons in Canada. If you pulled up a map of Tim Hortons in Canada, so many of them you can't even see the map anymore. It's just fucking icons of Tim Hortons all over the place. It's like that, but in Assassin's Creed. And it's useless. It adds zero to the story. It is nothing. The best that it does is it does give a player a reason to explore the map and search all the nooks and crannies to get an appreciation for it. But there's a point where the returns on that start to fucking drop off when you're talking about 1,500 collectibles on a map. It just gets silly and a bit, in my opinion anyway, a bit lazy. So I think that this is two things. I think one, it's solving a semi-lazy game development problem by having people see all these things to do, but they're so voluminous and time-consuming to get to them and do them that this speeds it up. And two, because of what I just said, it points at the fact that maybe we are getting a little too lazy with it and going for quantity over quality and clawing that back a bit, so that maybe a feature like this isn't really fucking necessary. Like, why, if the game wasn't shoving 710 side quests down your throat that means absolutely nothing, like go collect a hot dog for a kid on the street and fucking Miles Morales Spider-Man and turn into a fucking, like, street heater on the way on over, if that wasn't a thing, would activities even be really fucking necessary? It wouldn't be nearly as necessary. So, yeah, I'm for it as far as options go. I just think that it does point out the fact that maybe we're getting a little crazy with game design.
Yeah, I mean, we've always been a little crazy with that, and I mean, I agree with a lot of what you're saying. I mean, there is a lot of lazy shit. There's a lot of stuff that is just collecting for the sake of collecting, but also that's part of the achievement. I mean, it's been like that since Mario 64 days that I can.
Well, that is literally a collectathon by genre.
Yes. So, like, there are a ton of games, and I believe that's what Assassin's Creed does. They just pack a bunch of shit in there. You can still do the main story, and it's almost as if Sony is, number one, trying to speed along gamers to complete these games faster. And then not only that is they're trying to make it more accessible for people to complete games, like, fully.
Yeah.
And I don't think it has anything to do with that. The people that are out there collecting stuff in the masses are complaining that, oh, I'm so tired of doing this. The ones that are out there being completionists, that's part of.
Oh no, this isn't for them. This is for the people that.
But I mean,
don't
why,
already.
Yeah, why exactly? So, like, why would a non-completionist, a casual player, suddenly want to collect every Tim Hortons in Canada? Why would they want to collect every Starbucks in America? It's one of those things, like, they're catering. That's why I don't think this is for that. I think that this is to speed up the games and keep people to get people to complete a game, to complete an experience. Because I bet you the vast majority of people that buy video games do not complete them.
Probably.
And I'm not talking,
excuse me,
completionist stuff. I'm talking
no, actually just finishing.
Story, like, just the game.
Yeah.
And it can be for a number of things. It can be for the I don't have enough time. I don't necessarily think that is, because the facts are, if the game is good enough, you're going to find the time to play it. It's what we do. It's what we do as humans. It's like, you watch Game of Thrones and you're the busiest person on earth, you're going to find time to watch Game of Thrones.
100%.
You really like Breaking Bad, you're going to find time to binge it. You really, really love a video game, you're going to find time to play a video game. And the people that are taking advantage of these of this sort of stuff are likely not hardcore gamers. They're casuals. And they're casuals that I think Sony wants to feel as though they're completing a game. I mean,
what about this? What if it's for casuals in the sense that it makes the game makes playing certain games that a casual might not have considered before actually consider purchasing?
I don't think that's it. I think what it is the games that they are purchasing, because a casual doesn't go, you know what? Casuals don't even know about this.
Because for Sony, why do they care if they finish the game as long as the game is sold, right? So
because it's an experience. They want them to feel as though they've made an achievement, and they're more likely to buy the next one. If you go and spend $100 and you go, I didn't even fucking finish this game. And if you didn't finish it, chances are you didn't enjoy it, because if you enjoyed it, you would have finished it. You would have found the time. So they want you to complete an experience, because a lot of these AAA titles, even though they're bad games, they're good stories. Like, you got good actors, you almost got like a Netflix experience.
Lots of times I said, I just want to watch this movie. I don't want to play this game.
Exactly. Yeah. And what's the fastest way to make that happen? Click a button and warp to each almost cutscene. Beat this little spot, cutscene. We're still keeping the story moving, keeping you interested, keeping you going. Next thing you know, the game's actually beat. And then you go from a 12-hour game to suddenly an 8-hour game. So not only does it make it shorter, but you have a better experience. You spent less time playing it. You got the full experience. You go, man, I really, really like that story. And even if a game is bad, and then suddenly the last hour or two is like a really good experience, suddenly you almost forget the game is bad. And you're like, it was, I guess, rough at the start, but pretty good story. The next one comes out. You know what? I want to see what happens to this character, or these sort of things. And it's the same thing with the Netflix series. How many times have we tried to get into a Netflix series and the first couple episodes aren't that great, but you hear everybody's like, dude, you just got to get past third episode. Once episode 5 happens, I swear to God, you're going to be, it's just a matter of getting you to that point. Some people just need that push. They need to literally be force-fed the stuff as easily as possible. And then once they make that hump, they're sold. Next thing you know it, Sony is selling, another copy of their first-party title, and they want to go and buy that next one. Instead of, I spent $100, I played it for 4 hours. I don't see what everybody's talking about here. When does the fun happen? I'm not into this. I played it for 2 hours after my son went to sleep, and I never got to the good stuff. And if you're still not getting to the cake yet, you're just gonna go do something else. We're in a time where everything is like instant gratification, and especially with Netflix and stuff, if I don't get hooked on something, I'm gonna go and try and get hooked on something else very quickly. Ain't nobody got time for that. And I think that's what they're doing with video games. They want you to have an experience. And if the developers have done the right thing in terms of creating a good experience, then chances are, if you're force-fed it and you're getting to it quicker and you experience what they want you to and they've done their job, you're going to enjoy it and you're going to buy the next one. It's like Christopher Nolan. He always wants everybody to go watch his movies in IMAX, in Dolby. And it's like, bro, don't watch this at home if you can't. I want you to experience this how I wanted you to experience this. And chances are, it's like Interstellar. You go to IMAX and we just remember like, oh my fucking God, holy shit, this was just incredible. And if we didn't experience it in that, it still is incredible. But if we didn't have it in that complete package in that way that they wanted you to open it, it's like when you go to a specialty burger place, you like burgers, they're like, you ain't putting shit on this. This is how you gonna eat it. And they tell you exactly what's going on that burger, and that's the show. Because they want you to experience it in a certain way. They don't want you to ruin the experience, even though you paid for it, because they have engineered the experience in a way to optimize for the best experience. And the moment that you, the casual player in a game, decides that you want to and you want to go walk off somewhere and talk to this NPC and then go do this side quest before even getting into the story, dude, there's some people that play video games and their minds are in a way that they can't, like, if they see something, they have to go do it. And it's just, and the next thing you know, they're playing the game for 8 hours and they've done 10 minutes of the main storyline. And they're going, I'm already fucking bored of this game, man. What the fuck? When does the story happen? It's like, dude, you just spent 8 hours doing frivolous shit that has nothing to do with the story. That's in there for filler content to make the game not feel like a linear straight line. And next thing you know it, you're giving up on it. And now you don't even get to experience the game. And thus you've had a bad experience. And that's why I think this is in place, is they're trying to steer you in a way to have the biggest success, to have a positive experience so that you continue to buy the DLC, that and not only that, I believe if you beat the main campaign, you're far more likely as a casual and you've done it relatively quickly and you've enjoyed it through this system, you're far more likely to go and then be a completionist because you've had such a good experience. And now you're more attached to the game emotionally. You're like, you know what? Fuck it. I'm going to turn this back on and I'm going to start going to collect these stars and all these Tim Hortonses and all these Starbucks. Now I just feel like doing it because I don't want to leave this world. And you're spending more time into the game. I think there's a deeper science to it than what it is at face value.
I agree. I mean, everything in media, whether it's a book or music or TV or film or games, it all comes down to it being packaged as an experience, right? It's like you buy a book and you want the experience, you're buying the hardcover copy or you're buying the leather bound motherfucker. You're writing a daily journal. What are you going to buy, like a dollar store one? Or are you going to buy that leather bound shit? You can fucking wrap it up at the end of the day and you feel like some sort of like mid 1700s author writing about how you got shit on Twitter today. Like it's all about an experience. And so I agree for sure that a not insignificant portion of this is geared towards trying to provide the most consistent experience as an option for those who wouldn't necessarily perhaps, and it's not like it's going to be 100% of the time it hits, but it will increase the number of people that will have a more positive experience with the hopes of, obviously, like anything, maybe they buy the next game or in the series, or maybe they complete the game, and now that they're done with the game, their hope is they're going to buy another game. And their attach rate for the console, which is like one of the biggest metrics console developers have, is attach rate, game attach rates. Maybe that means that we're going to increase our attach rate, and that's going to be great metrics.
Maybe they get attached to the developer. Like, you know what? I really enjoy. It's like a movie director. I really enjoyed this movie.
Oh, I mean, how do we already see that already? Like fucking Bethesda, Naughty Dog, and shit. That already happens. Blizzard. People are already attached to developers. I mean, this is another avenue to do that for sure. I agree with everything you just said. 100%. There's nothing I disagree with there. I do also think that they hope that that before they even get to the point where it becomes an experience, where somebody looks at a game that they wouldn't have normally played in a genre that they're uncomfortable with, and they know that activities is a thing that may help them with that experience. Maybe they actually buy the game now because they know that that is an option, or they know that they'll be able to more. Because I know one of the things in activities is also that it shows you how long an individual task will likely take you. And so just as a tool, it also helps people manage their time within games as well, in that regard. And again, all lending to a more positive experience. How many times in a game, or even when you were younger and you had all the time in the world, and you start up a quest in any game.
That's the beauty of it, Adam.
Right? No, but I mean, I understand, but like, how many times has it happened? I'm not talking for us.
Hey, you know what? You know what, guys? I guess we'll start the next little thing. Next thing you know, 3 hours have gone by. You're like, that's, man. I don't know. The more I think about this, I see where you're.
It's not for us though, but for like somebody else, where they sit down and they're like, all right, I might start this specific quest. And then they know that this specific quest is going to take them 3 fucking hours and not 30 minutes, and they don't have 3 hours to commit to it. Just the knowledge of knowing it's going to take 3 hours is fine.
I don't like it. It's almost like a spoiler. It's like, hey man, the average person, it took this guy 21 minutes.
And I agree with you, and I wouldn't use it for that purpose.
God damn, man.
But there are lots of people who totally would, who would want to know that. So I think net positive for sure, because it is ultimately an option. And so, you know, as long as it's an option, then there's not really a downside.
What would make me happy is if you use that it's shown on your profile, that it's, you know, hey, you've completed this with the help of.
That's what I meant by, like, you know, you get the achievement, but there's an asterisk.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah. You know, and maybe there's even achievement where you get it without using it. You know what I mean? Did not receive any whatever. I don't know. Because if you don't do that, it's just like, man, I feel, and I'm not even a completionist, I feel for the ones that are out there putting in the work. You know, it's the one at the corporate job that is doing the same amount of work as, or is doing more heavy lifting, but the asshole that just comes in and knows the boss just manages to skip the line. And you're like, well, what about me, man? I worked so hard. And you realize that nobody gives a fuck about how hard you worked. The reality is it's who you know. Use the assist then if you don't like it. If you're feeling that down, I don't like that shit. Personally.
It does like, for me, it does kind of lend itself to taking away from a game being a game and kind of breaking it down into, it almost turns it into like
those click things. You know those cutscenes where you're clicking X and square. It's got like a little element of that to it, where you're like, what the fuck?
quick time events.
Yeah, it's a quick time events to get to the game. It's like, what the fuck? Why?
And coincidentally, you know why they originally created quick time events was to give you it was to give you an experience that you wouldn't be able to likely pull off if you were given full control. Like you're like
interactive video.
God of War, where it was really first heavily used in the original games. Like all this crazy shit that you were doing, no player was ever going to pull that shit off if you handed them the controls. But visually, as an experience, you know, you're like, oh, we got to press X in time. You know, we can kind of make them give the illusion of interaction when there's not anything there. But yeah, I feel like it turns the games into more of ones and zeros and very sciencey and not necessarily an escape at that point. If you're just looking at like, how long is this going to take? Can I just get to this right away, et cetera, instead of just sitting down and doing it kind of like you just sit down, read a book, or sit down, watch a movie, and even if you don't finish the movie in one sitting, just fucking pause the movie and come back to it later on. You know, I don't necessarily need to always know the movie's runtime to decide whether or not I'm going to watch the movie. So, yeah, I don't know. It kind of makes me feel like they're breaking it down like a science fair project or some shit. Yeah. And like or like a syllabus in a like for a report at school or something. So anyway,
it's literally like opening up a book and you got a table of contents there, and you're like, okay, I'm gonna skip to this, this, and you're missing all the gems on the way there. You know what I mean? Like, even just think about if you're in an RPG or whatever, just being out in the world and experiencing what the developers have made for you and your surroundings, and just that alone. Yeah. And then no longer having that experience because you're being warped to where you need to go. It's like,
yeah. So again, just to put a cap on it, options are good.
That ain't it.
They're out there. It's definitely got its target market. Props to them for you know, taking the time to build something like this out. And I will continue to be interested to see how many games make use of it and in what way, because all the stuff we mentioned, some developers could just find unique ways to kind of get around some of the issues that we've just mentioned. Like, they could still be using the system, but in ways that are less intrusive, because ultimately I have to imagine developers also want people to experience, like you said, the Christopher Nolan's example, want people to experience the game the way that they were hoping you were going to experience it. And so they can still totally kind of like pick and choose a la carte what functions of activities they can use to still allow you to hopefully get that experience while still giving you the options to manage your time with the game. Sony, more Sony news here. Sony applied for a patent for a dual GPU console. I mean, all you could say would be that this, I guess, would be a PS5 Pro. Would be like your best guess as to what they would ever stuff 2 GPUs into a console for. However, you know, so my immediate takeaways from this are this. If they pulled that off and it was actually very functional, which it would have to be because it's mass market stuff, it's consoles, it's not like PCs, it has to be usable by everyone. Dual GPU stuff, scaling has been really good for a long time. It's just not been used by like any fucking games. Like if you were dual GPU on PC, you've had like a handful, and I mean not a big handful, like a child's handful of games over the last like decade to really make full use of, let's say, well, I mean any dual or triple or quad SLI for NVIDIA or Crossfire for AMD cards. You've had not a lot to choose from. And so, however, with that being said, with consoles, if they find out a way to do it efficiently, then it might standardize more games supporting it, and then PC can benefit from it as well. Where if developers are doing it for consoles, that's a big enough footprint, tens of millions of consoles, that now they can also port that kind of thing over to PC side as well, and have people be able to make use of it. It would also allow, obviously, a dual GPU PS5 would run 4K, full 4K 60 pretty much with ease. It wouldn't be a problem. Some games could benefit from 4K 120 without much sweat. You know, you're not going to get like, you know, Cyberpunk 2077 in 4K 120 with like ray tracing and shit. This is not going to fucking happen. But you could get stuff like Call of Duty multiplayer mode, 4K 120 frames with a dual GPU setup, stuff like that. And so yeah, that's very interesting. I don't know how the shit they'd cool 2 GPUs in a single console. We've already seen the size. Jeff has very animatedly described to you the size of a PlayStation 5 as it stands. And so if you can imagine them cramming a second GPU into this,
a literal computer.
I mean, to cool it, it would have to get bigger unless they come up with like liquid cooling solutions or some other crazy thing to try and keep the temperatures down. I mean, it would be absolutely monolithic. So it's interesting that the patent is out. I have no idea how they're going to pull it off. But hey, you know what? If they can do it, like I said, it opens up the PC market perhaps to actually have a bigger list of games to play with SLI, because it's been forever since that was the thing. I mean, back when we first started doing StarCraft stuff, SLI was in a fair number of games. I ran dual 9800 GTs and then dual 4060 or 460 Ti's. Excuse me, 460 Ti's for a number of years, and could successfully run SLI in pretty much, I mean, most of the games I ever played without issue. And then it just died, and then people just stopped supporting SLI in a lot of games, and it wasn't necessary because most graphics cards could easily run the games that we were running at high resolutions and with greater fidelity. So, but all the same, now with 4K is a son of a bitch to run, and so dual GPUs would make a lot of sense. So we'll have to wait and see what comes out of this patent application, and more importantly, I want to see just how big the fucking console would be running dual GPUs. Like Jeff said, it could just be a tower. It's like a fucking full tower.
PlayStation Tower.
The PlayStation Tower coming to a living room near you. And God knows when. But yeah, there you go. Next up, we've got... Oh yeah, right. Super Nintendo World. We talked about this ages ago on the podcast. But Super Nintendo World is set to open now on February 4th of 2021. I guess COVID be damned. And a few pictures were shown off on social media. I got it there for you to see, Jeff. Everyone... Oh, you already saw them? Yeah, lots of people. You haven't seen them, you can check it out on Nintendo of America's Twitter account. They posted the pictures. It looks dope. Some of it looks like a legitimate, like, render of a Nintendo game. I can only imagine the amount of money that went into that thing. Probably more than a few dollars. It's taken them a while to build it out, but yeah, it's not like it's huge or anything like that. It's part of a bigger theme park, but it does look great, and it'll be fun to see in action. Hopefully, as safely as humanly possible when it does land in February of next year. In related news, there in Japan, the life-size moving Gundam figure has been completed. So they had originally they built a full-size or life-size Gundam statue that was just stationary. Then they started building this one that actually moves. You know, it doesn't walk forward or anything, but it can strike different poses. It's all mechanical. All the parts move, and you can do a bunch of different poses. It's full size. I think it's 18 meters. I think I have here somewhere. 18 meters, and it strikes a new pose every 30 minutes. And at nighttime, they'll light that bad boy up. I think you can also climb up the scaffolding around it as well to see it more up close. But yeah, it's a 1-to-1, true-to-life scale Gundam. They have there for Jeff to see in the video there. And it obviously doesn't move quickly because it's 18 fucking meters tall. And so don't expect this thing to be fucking punching the air like Bruce Lee. But it does strike a new pose every 30 minutes. And, so, you know, it still moves faster than I thought it would, honestly. And it moves quite smoothly. And it doesn't look janky. It's kind of weird. Like, if you sped the camera up, it would look really good. Like, it's quite impressive. And so now I can only assume we're about 50 years away from Japan weaponizing a whole bunch of Gundams and taking over the world. This is just one step closer to Gundams becoming a reality. And you know what? Fuck it. I'm there for it. Bring me the Gundam wars. They're hideously inefficient compared to other means of transportation, but fuck it. One man stuck inside an 18-meter tall robot. Let's make it happen. Let's make it fucking happen. Get him in touch with Boston Dynamics and let's get that full fucking thing going. Next up, understandably so, CD Projekt Red has requested that folks, and this is on the back of what we talked about last week, somebody actually got their PS4 copy of 2077 already. And that has continued to happen. People have been getting their copies early. I saw a couple of more high-profile people getting their Best Buy copies this week. And so understandably so, the CD Projekt Red came out requesting that folks that receive their copies early don't stream or create and post content of the game until the release date. That's a pretty reasonable ask. They said they will actively be taking down with copyright notices anything that lands before the launch date. The moment the game launches, they gave the time and everything, like 12 p.m. or 12 a.m., I should say, whatever the fuck, for the 10th. They said, go nuts. We want you to stream until your eyes bleed. Make as much content as you want. But before that date, don't do it. We'll send the bad boys after you until then. And that's, you know what? You can't even fucking hate that. That's just sensible.
Yeah.
This is fucking sensible. And lastly, here on our gaming news this week, we've got Genshin Impact, which is, you know, has more or less taken the world by fucking storm. It's taken down awards on both Android and on iOS for Game of the Year in several categories. It's also likely, I swear to God, it's going to show up in Game of the Year categories, for regular game awards on, console, PC. It has brought in just shy of $400 million. And that's just on phones. That isn't including console. That isn't including PC. That's just the phones. It's pulled in $400 million. This game came out in September. It has been out for 2 months and change, and it's made $400 million just... So mobile games. Now, in fairness, and why I always say in fairness to this, is that lots of gacha games on phones are quite literally just drawings of anime girls that, kind of animate, and that's the show, and that's it. This is a $100 million game that is obviously not your typical gacha experience, and is one of the more fair in terms of free to play. M's got so many 5-star fucking characters, hasn't spent a cent. She's got so many 5-star characters, she doesn't know what to do with them. Her friend as well, Mark, same thing, has even more. His whole team is 5-star, and he's benching 5-star characters. He hasn't spent a cent. So you can do a lot without spending a single dollar on the game. It's well done. They spend a ton of money to make it. And so $400 million, though, just on mobile, the first 2 months. That game is going to make fucking buckets. Well, it already has, but it's going to make even more. Buckets of money as it continues on. Tapir, they could finance Star Citizen now if they wanted to. Perfect! Get them on it. It'll be done before Roberts gets it finished, I'm sure. And that's it. That's all we got for games, Jeff, which means it's time for your 3 hours of sleep sellout extravaganza. What do you got for us, Mr. Black?
We got patreon.com/lagtv. Head on over there. Throw some money at the screen. Support the podcast. If you don't have money to throw at the screen, hit the like button, leave a comment, leave a review, share it, all that fun stuff. We've got NordVPN. If you guys don't already have a VPN service, head on over to www.nordvpn.com/OTT. If you're watching this on YouTube, you can click the link in the description and use the promo code OTT to get 68% off. Also, they've got a special Christmas deal that I was just emailed today.
Oh!
Every purchase of a 2-year plan will get you an additional 4 months for free. So you're also going to get 4 months for free, and there's still the promo code and all that discount. If you guys don't know what a VPN is, then you must not be watching this podcast very often because we go through it every week. But essentially, you can watch different regions of Netflix with the click of a button. You can access region block content with the click of a button. You can stay safe, stay anonymous, hide your IP. You can use it on your smartphones, your TVs, your desktop, your Chrome extension, your any browser. They've got it for everything. You can get an app virtually for NordVPN on just about every device that you have. The servers are very fast. They have a 30-day money-back guarantee, so if you don't like it for whatever reason, within 30 days, get your money back, full refund, no questions asked. It's a great way to support the stream, and it's 2020, almost 2021. The world is on fire, and you need a VPN, period. So go out and get one. And when you do, think of NordVPN and the promo code OTT. Up next, we got Elgato. If you guys don't already have a Stream Deck, well, you gotta get one. The new World of Warcraft expansion thingy bobber is out. I know a lot of you guys are out there lost in the world of Pandora or whatever world there is now in World of Warcraft. It's probably not Pandora anymore, but there's a bunch of worlds. Doesn't matter if it's Pandora or whatever. You're going to need an extra bit of hotkeys for all your different spells and all the wizardry that you're doing in the game. And you can use a big hotkey like a Stream Deck and even put your own little fancy icon that you still have for the spell in the game that you can use to know exactly what button you're pressing so that you no longer have to do like Control-Shift-2 to shoot a firebomb in the game because you already have Control-Shift-1, Control-Shift-3, Control-1, Control-2, Control-3 as already spells. You can do all that and some with the Stream Deck. You can get it in mini. You can get it in regular size. You can get it in XL size. Elgato has got whatever you need for your Christmas needs at Elgato. You all got to get something from them. You all got to get something. I don't care if it's a microphone. I don't care if it's a green screen. I don't care if it's a Stream Deck or all of them combined. A key light. A ring light. All right, Elgato's got everything. So go grab something. And when you do, take a picture of it and tweet it out. Tag Technical Alpha with Elgato so they know you picking. We don't have a promo code here. I ain't got no discount. Elgato ain't giving you no discount. You know why they ain't giving you a discount? Because they know the products are supreme. They don't have competition. When you don't have competition, why are you giving discounts? You better look out for Black Friday or Boxing Day sales. Those are the times you're going to get your discounts.
Boxing Month,
Cyber Mondays and Tuesdays and Thursdays.
Cyber Year.
That's when you get your discounts. I don't have a promo code to give you. All right? You know, with NordVPN, you got tons of different VPN services out there. They're all not as good as Nord. But you know what Nord does? They hook you up with a promo code to give you a little extra incentive. Elgato, they run in the show. They don't need to give promo codes. Ain't nobody going up against Elgato. Nobody wants that beef.
They don't want that smoke.
They can't handle it. We got too many hotkeys over here on Stream Decks. What are they going to do? Nothing. So go check them out. Link is in the description below. Shout outs to Elgato. That's all I got.
Mr. Black, it's now time for
movies and TV.
Oh, I'm finishing this stale-ass cracker. Where do those crackers come from, love? That is upstairs? Yikes. That cracker is the opposite of crunch. Movies and TV. First up, we got Sting. One of my favorite wrestlers of all time. One of the greatest wrestlers of all time. One of the greatest gimmicks in wrestling of all time. Sting made a surprise appearance on AEW yesterday and actually has a contract signed. So he is going to be wrestling at AEW now for a time. And the surprise appearance went over incredibly well. Despite the fact, I mean, it would have been even better if they actually had people, like a lot of people in the arena. The pop would have been probably pretty fucking wild because there was nothing that led anyone to believe that Sting was going to fucking show up at AEW ever, let alone last night. And so that would have been a crazy pop, I'm sure. But all the same, the intro was dope. He came out looking great. The makeup looking good as always. Seems to be in still great shape. Trended on Twitter for a while actually that Sting made the comeback, which was nice to see.
Goldberg, is he gonna come out there?
No, Goldberg will actually just injure people.
I don't know, man. Listen, I can't. Wrestling.
I can't hate on Sting, bro. It's Sting. It's Sting. I mean, I'm not out here watching AEW on a weekly basis, but you gotta recognize the good shit. I mean, there's very few wrestlers in that age bracket that could come back and legitimately wrestle. It just so happens that Sting is one of them.
You want to know why wrestling is gonna die here within the next 20 years?
Because the people they keep bringing back to keep it all afloat are gonna die.
Yes. I mean, dude, this is like this is the only reason why wrestling is even where it's at is because of nostalgia. It's almost as though the new generation of wrestlers, there are some gems, there are people they get behind for sure. But I mean, if it wasn't for these old timers, it's over.
Like how many? I do agree with that. How many times do old legends have to come back to put over new wrestlers?
Exactly.
Before the new wrestlers can finally stand on their own 2 feet.
I don't think there's not, and even ones that do stand on their own 2 feet, there's just not enough engagement and not enough people rallying behind those. It's not like they're winning a new generation of fans. You know, there's a very few people like maybe John Cena, and he's like in Hollywood now. Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson, he's in Hollywood now. So you got these old timers that, I mean, AEW is basically built on the back of old time WWE wrestlers. Even some of the biggest success that the WWE has had over the last decade has been because of old wrestlers coming back. I mean, The Undertaker's retired. You know, he's got like his last match coming or whatever.
No, that's done. That's done.
Oh, is it?
Yeah.
He's done. So he's done. And, you know, unless Vince comes, which I'm sure they will, in like 3-4 years, pay the guy, you know, a couple $1 million to show up to fight at a WrestleMania when he's like fucking 65 and barely moves and has a 3-minute match, but everybody will tune in to watch it. You know, when these wrestlers are no longer able to wrestle, what do you have left? It's over. Like, the gig is up. The wrestling is going to have to scale down. I'm not saying that it can't survive, but I mean, it's going to have to scale down so drastically that, I mean, it's done. I can't get excited about these wrestlers coming back anymore. I mean, it gets to the point now where I see these guys, and I mean, Sting looked fine. I did see the stuff on Twitter. Like, he's obviously older, but like, he doesn't look nearly as bad as some of the wrestlers that come back. And you're like, really? You got fucking Ric Flair in here who had just had a heart attack last week.
So here's the thing, just to put it on your point, and not, AEW, if anyone was going to do it, it makes sense that AEW was going to do it because they are a newer promotion and they need to have something to lift them up. Even though the promotion itself is run by some of the older generation of wrestlers to begin with, notwithstanding those wrestling. But it's true, as Sam said here, in that when he came out, so Arn Anderson was out there. He's like a 70s and 80s wrestler. Dustin, which is Cody's older brother, Goldust originally. He was 90s generation. He was out in the ring. Cody's out there, 2000s. And then the newest one, Darby, what's his last name? Darby Allin or something like that, I think it is. It was like the fresh greenhorn kind of wrestler. And then Sting's in there doing his thing, and he's all... So, like, AEW is very representative of several generations of wrestling, and they are at a scale where they're not as bloated as the WWE because they are smaller, and that's their advantage. But it's true, and I agree that while it's necessary, and this is how I see it, is it's needed, and it's why the gimmick exists, usually for generational talent to put over the generation that's coming after them. Like every major wrestler that's ever been frontline has had to do it at some point to let people get over to boost the next generation of wrestlers. However, for whatever reason, in the last, like, let's say 2 generations of wrestling, it has been really difficult for people to latch onto the new talent, even if the new talent is actually pretty good. For whatever reason, call it because people are just getting tired of wrestling. Maybe the storylines aren't really doing it for people anymore. Maybe the gimmicks aren't there. But even if they're a pretty good wrestler and they get put over by these legends, it still doesn't seem to be having the same gravity as when an older wrestler before, like a Ric Flair and Macho Man putting over Diamond Dallas Page, like a WCW or some shit. It just doesn't have the same weight that it used to. And how many times can you pull out an older wrestler to put over a new one before it just loses its weight?
I think it's even more than that now. I think it's not even just to put people over. I think...
Well, it's also to draw eyeballs.
I just think it's for ratings. I think ratings are so bad that they're forced to bring these... there's probably nothing more in the world that they'd rather than just keep these retired guys retired. I mean, a lot of them are fucking drug addicts, drunks, hard to deal with. Said some really fucking nasty shit about promotions and just fucking don't want to be there for a paycheck. A lot, not all of them, but you get that vibe. I mean, it's the wrestling business. They trust me, Vince and everybody else, believe you me, there's probably nothing more that they would want to never have to bring back a guy that they retired and just have the next generation go. I get that, but I think we're almost beyond that point now. I feel as though they almost need to take these old school wrestlers and bring them part of the godforsaken roster in order to keep ratings at a relatively good thing. It's not even just like, hey, come in and beat the legend. Next thing you know, you're good. It's like, oh, that was great for a Sunday. By next Sunday, everyone's forgotten about it.
Oh, now it's like an entire storyline with the legend to build up to put them over.
Exactly. It's
true. It's true. It's a tough place to fucking be in, and I don't even know what the solution would be. I'll tell you this, my opinion, which matters very little, obviously, for almost anything. But when I watch AEW, for example, as somebody who used to love and watch a lot of wrestling, and even WWE has this problem for me sometimes, but AEW is way worse for this. The camera work, which doesn't, on face value, if you don't watch wrestling, you wouldn't think the camera work would be like a major component to how enjoyable it is to watch wrestling.
It is.
It's especially since you're watching it from home. If you're in an arena, you can only watch the wrestlers from quite a distance. a lot of the intricacies that make it look like it's a real, I mean, and sometimes they actually accidentally hit each other, but like to make it look more impactful than it is, or to allow somebody that isn't like Bill Goldberg, who's a genetic shit show, to be able to literally fucking jackknife a 300-pound man over his head. You watch somebody like Undertaker or somebody else jumping into that to help them get them up to that position. Stuff like that that's less obvious in a live setting. When you're watching it from home, the camera work is doing a lot to keep the illusion that the kayfabe, the illusion that it's real, what's happening, or that they're actually getting hit or whatever, and it keeps you engaged in that level, like you were watching like anything, like a movie where you know it's fake, but if the camera work's done well, then you're engaged with it. So AEW's camera work, if I have to be honest, is literally garbage.
Yeah.
It shows it's like they took, and sometimes I think it's intentional, but I think it's having the opposite effect, at least it is for me, where it's like John Wick when it came out. Everything was a wide-angle lens shot, or wide-angle shot, to show absolutely everything, but the choreography was so good, you could appreciate it. It was like AEW was made by guys who are wrestling pure bloods. They're literally the built on the backs of wrestling families for generations that have such a deep appreciation for wrestling. It was like they wanted to show all of the beauty of the talent and technique of all these young wrestlers coming up that have been trained. But the problem is, while from a purist perspective, who you watch it, you're like, man, they really sold that move well, or they really did well. Look at how athletic these guys are. When you're looking at it from like a story perspective or from an entertainment perspective, it pulls me out. I'm just watching the guys like jump into moves and like aid in like all of the fucking specials happening and shit and whatnot.
It's too clean.
It's too clean.
It's too clean.
Now I don't want 2003 SmackDown where the camera like fucking dove with every hit. Like they got like real fucking aggro with the camera in like the early 2000s. Like every time a punch landed, you could see the cameraman going wham, wham. I don't need that, but
WWE still does some of that.
It still does that shit too. It's not. It's still a thing. But like if you go back, like. And not just because of rose-tinted glasses, but if you look back at the 80s and 90s, and they had like the camera was just a bit further back, and then they zoomed in when it was like they're talking to each other, or it was easier to hide shit. It was like watching it from it was like having the advantage of watching it live from a wrestling perspective of not seeing everything that's happening, while also getting close enough and to be able to get that experience that you wouldn't get in a live setting when they're doing like talking to each other and stuff. But right now, you can literally hear, because anyone who watched wrestling long enough knows, through the throes of a match, if something's changing up, like the camera's so close and so clean, you can hear the fucking wrestlers talking, like they're in a headlock, and normally you wouldn't see this shit or hear it. They'd be like this, and they're talking to each other, having a fucking conversation. But now on AEW and WWE, you can hear them. They're like, all right, let's go for a fucking, let's take it home, let's finish it. And he's just like, fuck me, we don't need to see that shit. It ruins it. So yeah, I think they need to work on shit like that. But I agree, it's very much become a thing where they're stringing these guys out on marionette strings because they're old men. It's like Bob Barker.
You hear Ric Flair like,
woo! I mean, the swag walk he had, he already looked like he was stroking out, so maybe it's just easier for him now because that's just his natural walk.
Yeah, nice.
Yeah, the natural boy. The nature boy himself.
Boy.
Anyway, Sting, he's back. Next up, Dave Prowse, who was the man behind the Darth Vader mask originally in the OG movies, a big towering man. He was like 6'10" or 7 feet tall, some huge dude. He was a big dude, to say the least. Passed away, age 85 this week. So all the best to his family. Legend, obviously, the man who gave gravity to Darth Vader. I mean, he was
one of the funniest things ever is behind the scenes when he's filming that, because they did James Earl Jones's voiceover for Darth Vader after the movie, like when it was filmed, and you could hear Darth Vader's like
delivering the lines.
Yeah, he's like, I don't even.
Just whatever the lines are.
And I'm like, what the fuck? He thought, from what I'm gathering, and I was watching this documentary, is he's always been upset with Star Wars because he thought he was going to be the voice, right? Like he thought that he was going to be that. And then apparently they were like, yeah, that ain't it. He's got the size and he's got, all the movements you see is him, the menacing size of Darth Vader. It's all him. But obviously, the iconic James Earl Jones voice is to a lot of people think James Earl Jones is Darth Vader, and in a way he is, but Dave Prowse is just as much Darth Vader as James Earl Jones, and people don't really think.
If you give a character a mask and then give him a voiceover, the voice is going to be what people attach to it because otherwise it's a mask, right?
Yeah.
So that's rough.
Yeah,
to say the least. But obviously, bless him for doing it, getting in the suit. And help make movie history, and hopefully, his family is more, maybe compensated a bit more than they would have been originally for his contribution or whatever. I don't even know what this thing is. I have seen people talking about how there's been like hashtags and shit going around for him. I haven't read into it enough to say anything about it, but all you can hope for is that he and his family are treated appropriately for his contribution. Next up, Elliot Page announced his transgender identity this week to mostly positive responses, thankfully. Every time one of these things happens, you expect for it to be nuclear, but for once it was actually net positive from everything I saw. Of course, you're always going to have lots of people reacting negatively to it and using the same kind of tired jokes. And Netflix is also, this is nice to see, Netflix is updating his credits to the Umbrella Academy. And immediately people were saying hopefully at some point Warner Bros. Does that for the Wachowski sisters for their, the Matrix movies, if they're streaming them, to have the updated credits and whatnot to reflect that as well. So congrats goes out to Elliot. Elliot's actually a homegrown from here in Nova Scotia. And so all the best and keep up the good work. Doing a lot of fighting for that community, which obviously is still grossly mistreated, both legally and otherwise, and a bit of a minefield still all the same to be fighting through it. So all the best in that regard. Next up. And this is yet another one added to the list, Mr. Black. We're just getting back to movie channels, except it's streaming networks. Discovery Channel is joining the streaming service train coming in January of next year. Discovery Plus launches at $5.99 for the ad-supported tier and $6.99 a month for the ad-free tier. I'm assuming that's be US dollar prices. It includes content from Discovery, HGTV, Food Network, and others that they own. It launches with what they're saying is the largest catalog of readily available episodes in streaming service history at 55,000 episodes spanning 2,500 shows, which I'm going to say is, yes, definitely larger than any service that exists currently. It will also be releasing content from A&E and History Channel and Lifetime, because they partnered with those three, and so there will be content from them. We don't know how much of their catalog or what will be offered, but that is a partnership that they've wheeled and dealed. Original content from Sir David Attenborough, Chef Bobby Flay, and comedian Kevin Hart also coming to the platform as well, so they're working on stuff that's, external their current offerings. We don't know what regions it will launch in as of yet, or where it will be available in terms of hardware, like whether or not it's going to be on Roku or Amazon's Fire services, or where it will be actually available as a streaming service to pick up, but and which regions, like I said. However, I suspect that it will be starting in the U.S. first, maybe Canada, work its way out from there. It will probably take some time to get in with Roku, because Roku is a notoriously hard dealer to get on with. They play hardball with their business because they basically own the hardware streaming market. I mean, the vast majority of people are on Roku, and so not surprising there. And then go from there. But we'll see what it's on. But I mean, given the size of this, I'm sure that lots of people are going to want to get their hands on it. Thankfully, it's not just only Discovery content. I can get behind $6.99 a month. That's a shitload of content. Fuck.
Yeah, HGTV, the Food Network, A&E, History Channel. I don't watch Lifetime, but there's those.
I mean,
like
that's
4 networks that I would. There are shows that I would actually watch.
Yeah,
and just to have it VODed, just to
yes.
if you're bored, to just go and watch some sort of season of whatever.
Iron Chef America. I will. I give me VODs of Iron Chef America, and I will watch them.
I probably would personally watch more of this than I would Disney Plus.
Mm-hmm.
Honestly,
Disney Plus is kind of dead air, honestly, for me at this point. I'm probably going to cancel it pretty soon because I don't have a child to put in front of it 24 hours a day. And they don't update it with content that I give a fuck about frequently enough for me to sit there and pay them as much money as I do every month. Whereas something like this, I mean, my God, it would take you months just to get through the endless shows they have there, of course, given your interest in it. But, I mean, for me, HGTV and Food Network by itself has enough shit that I would watch that would keep me busy for a long time. And certainly would provide me enough value at $6.99 a month. You know, that would probably be $7 or $8.99 Canadian, but even still, easy. And again, I already have these networks on TV, but again, on demand. Why cable networks don't just have all this shit constantly on demand yet is beyond me. It kind of defeats the purpose. It must be their licensing agreement for it, but it's always bothered me that I can't do that. Like some things you want to just go and watch at any time. Even if it had commercials, just let me fucking watch it whenever I want to, and you can't. And so, yeah, this is definitely at least a streaming service that has some serious weight behind it and a reasonable price. And next up, and the big news, it just dropped today, actually, just about, I'd say, an hour before the podcast, Warner Brothers has announced that they will simultaneously release their entire 2021 movie lineup in theaters and on HBO Max. So the day that it launches in theaters, it's also going to HBO Max. And if it's going to be like anything like Wonder Woman, then it's possible that you're not paying a rental fee, but you never know. And even if you did pay a rental fee, offering it on HBO Max already is still going to get a lot of people engaged with it, I'm sure.
I'm going to have to go and get my HBO Max subscription again. It's fuck me, man. I got pretty much no choice.
Well, you can't see it in theaters without risking COVID.
How salty is the movie theaters right now,
bro? I told you this shit was happening. I'm
pretty sure that, I mean, the movie theaters are getting a cut of something. So they had to have worked out something, because and the only reason why this is happening, the only reason is because if they release these movies in theater, they're not going to make, I mean, you saw what happened with Tenet. I mean, Tenet still made like $350 million, but Tenet should have been almost like probably 700-800 million box office. Yeah, so they're just doing it simultaneously. I mean, what else do you do? What else? We're not going to see movies for 2 years.
This is inevitable, and all this is doing is accelerating what was likely already going to happen at some point. Movie theaters I don't think movie theaters are going to go away. They're just not going to be as numerous, and they're going to have to come up, like I said before, months ago, they're going to have to come up with ways to incentivize people to go there for the experience. Because like we were talking about with games, there are movies that you see in a theater for the experience, like Interstellar. You go there for the experience. You know, yeah, you can watch it nicely at home if you're well off enough. You've got a 70-inch TV and surround sound. It's going to look and sound pretty fucking dope. But maybe you want to go and see it in IMAX and get your shit blown off with 15,000 watts of stereo sound.
I'm telling you, man, Corona is absolutely murdering the theater industry. I mean, just fucking putting it
Well, it's murdering any service industry that requires people to be close together inside a building.
Absolutely murdering it.
Restaurants getting fucked. Movie theaters getting fucked. Like any indoor sporting event fucked. Everyone's getting boned and they have to adapt. And it just so happens that you know, in my opinion, of all the industries that have had to adapt to what's going on right now, the movie theater industry should be up on the list of people that were already relatively prepared for something of this happening at some point. You got to imagine that whether it was a virus that was going to do it, or it was going to be competition from the outside that inevitably worked their way in to force people to want to not always go to the theater, you have to have a contingency plan.
I honestly don't think at this level was going to happen for a very, very long time. The theater industry even still, I mean, if you were to ask, I still believe that once these vaccines get out and some time goes and people start getting back to some normalcy, I think by 2022, you're not going to see this. You're not going to see HBO come out and say we're doing both simultaneously. I think ultimately what's going to happen is they need to get these out because they've spent a fuck ton of money making these movies. They can't just release them in theater because they're going to lose too much. So they're tagging it on to a streaming service so that they can get those bump up in subscriptions. And even with the bump up in subscriptions, they're still not going to make as much money. There's going to be tons of pirating that's going to be happening. People are watching it for free. And I think this is just a Band-Aid on a gash wound, but I think it's a big wake-up call. And the thing is, if this goes on for like another year, it's not going to be good for the theaters. But I believe that just because this is happening doesn't mean this is the beginning of the end per se. But if this goes on too much longer and the movie industry starts adapting their budgets, starts adapting how they film, all these different things, and they can bring the cost down, could be bad news. Could be bad news. But ultimately, when the theaters get back to full juice again, whatever theaters are left, it's just going to still make more money in the theaters than what it will at home. And I think at most, what's going to happen is that we talked about it, the theatrical window is going to get shorter. I don't think you're going to have theater and home at the same time. I think you'll get theater and then maybe 2 weeks you'll be able to watch it at home. That's the only thing I can think of. And the theaters are going to have to be compensated or they're just not going to agree. But I mean, as time goes on, the theaters, their pull is getting smaller and smaller and smaller. The only ones that can really make it happen at this point or put their foot down are the major theater lines. That's pretty much it. I mean, all the small ones, if this goes on for another year, they're done. They're just going to get bought out or shut down. It's over. There's just no way. It's not making any money.
It's true. The list or partial list of these movies coming out next year that you'll be able to enjoy on HBO Max, should you have it available to you in your region and be subscribed to it, is The Matrix 4, Dune, The Suicide Squad, Tom and Jerry, Space Jam: A New Legacy, The Many Saints of Newark, which is a Sopranos prequel, In the Heights, Godzilla vs. Kong, The Little Things, which is a Denzel film, Mortal Kombat, which also got announced kind of at the same time as this, which looks to be a refresh of the movies for Mortal Kombat, is popping off, and Malignant, which is a James Wan film. Of course, there are more, but those are kind of the highlights there for that. So there you go. I mean, that's a heavy list. I mean, there's some big movies on that list. And certainly movies that are so big that some people would have probably thought that even with COVID being what it is, they would have rather have delayed these movies than have them released.
There's too much. There's too much money. There's too much money. There's like a couple $1 billion sitting right here. There's, and I just read this. They said, keep in mind, Warner Brothers considers this a 1-year experiment, which is exactly what I pretty much. These movies are made, right? They need to get these out. They just can't sit on these. You can delay 6 months, a year, but then then you've got the next line of movies that are already in production. Then what, you got to delay those again too? They need to get these out. Take an L. It's a good time to experiment. I mean, maybe something miraculous happens here and they go, holy fuck, we just made an absolute killing. Then that changes the game. But I don't think that's going to happen. I think they're just mitigating their losses as much as they can. And I just read that each movie will only be up for 31 days and then it'll leave the platform. So basically you have 31 days to watch.
That's a shitload of time.
Yeah, but where they get you is they don't want you just spending the money for 1 month and then, or buying a year and then getting basically all of the movies. They want to make sure that, or buying it for 1 month, right? You go, okay, I'm going to get this 1 month. They want you to they want you to have a yearly subscription of HBO, right?
Well, why wouldn't they? I mean, I don't think there's anything wrong with that if you're going to get all this shit. I mean, who the fuck is going to sit there and go, all right, well, it's not worth it. We're getting all the shit that's already on HBO Max, which is arguably, as far as like quality of content, one of the highest available, and then tack on Matrix 4, Dune, Suicide Squad, Godzilla vs. Kong, Mortal Kombat, Malignant. I mean, these are some movies. And so I mean, that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, like that's 11. I mean, so that's like a movie a month just as it is.
Yeah. Well, because movies are already backed up, so now they're just releasing these motherfuckers. Right?
I mean, that's just easy. So yeah, we'll have to wait and see. Of course, HBO Max isn't available everywhere in the world. Like, for example, it isn't available, I think, in the UK.
All these movies are going to be streamable on the internet for free.
Yeah.
So as soon as they come on, the Blu-ray 4K rips. I mean,
yep.
So a ton of people that just aren't going to pay for it, right? That's always the problem with this. You can foot that bill after it's already hit the theater and you've made your shit tons of money, but there are a ton of people that are gonna be like, I ain't paying for this.
That won't be as big. Like, if they continue to do this in the future for whatever reason, that wouldn't be as big of an issue after COVID's no longer a thing. I could see more people being incentivized to pirate films because of COVID and not having the platform available to them to get it otherwise, or just not wanting to spend the money for the platform, but would have been willing to go to the theater, because otherwise it's like making the argument about like music sales and shit like that, where it pre-assumes, or it's presumptuous that the people that pirated it would have spent the money in the first place. So
yeah, but I mean, the music industry did take an absolute dive, and it wasn't until Spotify basically came and streaming services where music is being released for people to listen to for free, where the artists started making the vast majority of the money through Spotify and concerts. I mean, iTunes sales and stuff are really only still super big for the really, really big artists. I mean, people did pirate music and pirated it bad.
Well, they still do, and they still
not nearly as much because it's available. Right?
But the money being, like you said, though, like, except for a handful of people,
music CD.
No, like, I don't even listen to that much music. I'm the wrong person to ask, because I'm not listening anyway.
I mean, I could ask anybody on the stream right now. When was the last time you downloaded an illegal album? You just go to Spotify and type it in and listen to it. I mean, it's been like that for years. If the movies are coming out and it's movies that people want to see and that are hyped for, these big anticipated movies, and people are like, I can watch this for free? Dude, they're going to watch this for free. Shit tons of people are going to watch this for free.
Oh, sure. And
it's going to hurt their bottom line when it's in theaters and the only copies you can watch on the internet are cam rips where somebody's holding a camera in a theater. I know for me, when I really wanted to watch a movie and I'm like, I don't want to go to the theater, I don't have time, and I'm trying to find a rip of it on the internet to stream, if it's just a cam thing, I ain't touching it with a 10-foot pole. Some people will because they don't really care, but I mean, most people don't. You release a movie on HBO Max in 4K, that shit's getting ripped within seconds, and you can go and experience that the exact same way that the paying customers are experiencing it. And until they come up with a solution where everybody can watch it for free when they want, it's going to get pirated bad. Where the real winners are going to be Real winners are going to be these websites that host these movies and these shows. That their traffic is going to fucking, it's going to go up like a fucking rocket ship. I mean, people don't even torrent movies anymore. It's very rare. I mean, people that torrent movies, torrent them to like put them on like a Plex server or something. The vast majority of people that are watching movies are just going to like specific streaming websites. You just click on the movie and you can just watch it right on the site in perfect HD, and you don't have to download shit.
So I guess my question is, why is it any different than it's going to be now, other than perhaps the time frame in which people are going to do it?
Because what the thing is with the theater is, like exactly what I was saying, is before they had to go to the theater to experience it in a way that you can actually enjoy the movie. For the vast majority of people that watch it, like I said, some people will watch a shaky cam and bad audio. Most people won't. I mean, most people won't even watch a 720p version. They're like, it's a little bit too shitty for me. But when it is in theaters and at home at the same time, if they have an option to go to the theater and spend money, or they have an option to stay at home and spend money on HBO Max, or they have an option to just stream it at the same quality as the HBO Max, a ton of people are just going to stream it for free on a pirated website and not pay any money. HBO loses out on the money, either from the theater or from subscription base, which is the big hurdle that they're gonna be faced. It's the same hurdle that the music industry faced when it came to Napster and all these other downloadable things, and people could just download the albums instead of paying money. You give somebody and we're in an industry, or in a time where it's 2020. I mean, most people that watch movies and stuff, they know how to do this shit now. I mean, 8 years ago, 8 years ago, getting torrents and stuff, you still kind of had to know what you're doing, and you kind of didn't feel safe doing it. Like now everybody has a working computer and everybody streams everything and everybody knows it's super fucking easy now. It's just way too easy. So yeah, that's why I still think the theaters ultimately, the big chains ultimately will survive. But man, they're in some heavy waters right now, and they need to.
It will be very fun to watch how well or how much money they can make with the revenue that they report. Doing it this way all next year, we're gonna have a really good sample size because Warner Brothers, these are big movies, and Warner Brothers is one of the front runners as far as publishers go. So, this will be somebody was inevitably going to take the leap. Looks like Warner Brothers is the one that's taking the leap. And other people in the industry, other publishers and major movie houses are going to be watching this super intently. They're also probably going to stick their toes in the water with a couple of their films for the same reasons you mentioned, whereby it's like, look, the films are already done, they're made, we can't sit on them for 2 years, we got to get this money going in some way, shape, or form. Even if we're not recuperating cost, it's better than not getting anything. And so the trick will be in cases where they're putting it out not expecting to make very much money, if it does end up churning quite a serious profit for them, it'll be fun to see how they then make their next moves. Like how do they navigate that? Because at first they weren't even considering this as an option, but if it produces pretty good results, now they have to sit back and go, okay.
There's just no way Matrix 4 is $1 billion movie anymore. It's over. There's $1 billion movie if it came out in theater and there was no Corona. $1 billion.
Well, what I want to know, and what isn't listed here that I can see yet, but it would be weird to me if they didn't make you pay to watch it. You have to have the platform HBO Max and then rent it like they did with Mulan.
Doesn't seem that's not it, because Wonder Woman is the same thing. Wonder Woman comes out.
That's what I said. Yeah, but you're not paying anything. That is where I think they're fucking up. Because I mean, do I think they should charge $30 like they did Mulan? Fuck no. That's crazy. Do I think that they should charge like $9.99 or some shit US to rent it? Yes, 100%. Because then these movies go from making them $300 million to making them $600 million or more if they're big enough titles. I mean, I don't think many people would complain about a $10 thing for seeing it the same day that it's released in the theaters or seeing it at home. I really don't think people go. Look how many people rented Mulan, and Mulan was dog shit, and they rented it for $30. So you come out with like Matrix 4 or Dune for $9.99? People fucking eat that shit up en masse, or en masse, as people make fun of me for that.
You still need your HBO subscription, right?
Yes,
and it's like $20 a month. And then you pay another $10.
It's $14.99 in the States, and then you get $9. Well, here it's like Disney Plus is what fucking in Canada right now?
$7.99.
Right, so you get that, and then you're with $30 for fucking Mulan. So
I didn't watch it, right? You know,
well, you didn't, but a shitload of people did.
No, they didn't. It did bad. It did very, very bad. It's like historically the worst release in a major movie ever.
In terms of spending in terms of like putting a movie out for $30 and having that many people
did
show up,
shit numbers, horrible numbers.
Comparatively speaking to a theater, yes, but if you put out $9.99,
comparison to really any rental that goes out, it did dog shit, horrible, awful numbers, like not even close. It's bargain bin garbage. Like that's how bad it did.
It's probably because it was $30 to rent.
No, it's because it was a bad movie. It's behind a subscription, and it's a bad movie. It's behind a subscription, and it costs money. And I think HBO looked at what happened with Mulan, and they go, "Listen, people aren't going to want to spend both." And it's either listen, we could either charge them $20 for $30 is just way too much.
That's
$19.99, it's fine. It's okay, we can get people to rent it for $19.99, or we can just put it on our platform and have them get the platform for $19.99 or less, right? If you're in Canada, it's less, and in the States, it's less.
They're going for volume, obviously.
They want subscriptions, right? So they're trying to bump up their subscription numbers, which I think this is smart. If they would have made it for me, I'll tell you right the fuck now.
Yeah.
This I tell you, and I'm not. And I bet you I'm in the boat of the vast majority of people. If I had to pay for the HBO, and I had to pay $10, $20, or $30 to rent the movie, I'm pirating that fucking movie. I'm watching it on Plex. Period. There is a zero chance. Zero. Like I'm a hardcore moviegoer, hardcore, more than probably anybody that you know. Well, I'm the hardcore guy that will legitimately pay for it. Listen, Tenet comes out December 15th. I am fully ready to rent that movie. Devin told me the shit's on Plex and it's fucking perfect. I might be watching that shit tonight. I'm not joking you. I might just say, fuck it. I'm going to watch Tenet tonight because I want to see the movie. And guess what? It's money they missed out on. If there's no coronavirus, I would have saw that shit opening night, popcorn in my hand, and it would have been a fucking great time. But I'm telling you, if HBO tried to pull some shit where guess what? Wonder Woman's coming out on Christmas, you got to pay $10 or $20 plus the subscription. I'm telling them to go fuck themselves. I'm going to go and stream that shit online for free. Now they don't get my HBO subscription, and now they don't make the money from the movie. But since they're only asking for the HBO subscription, I am going to re-up my HBO Max, and I'm going to watch it, and thus they're going to get my my money.
And this is an interesting case because I'm not the hardcore guy, even remotely close. But I would be comfortable with, and I have HBO Max. I've had it for like fucking, or I've HBO nearly as long as it's existed. I've had it for 8. I mean, if it's been out since 2012, I would have had it since.
Yeah, it's a Game of Thrones.
Yeah,
right?
So I've had it. I've had it for 8 years now, going on a decade. And I would personally,
of course,
I would be comfortable and not even think twice about it if a movie comes out at the same day it goes to theaters, and it's on HBO Max, but I got to pay $9.99 to rent it on the release date. And let's say because you're saying, for example, they're going to make it available for a month. Let's say it's a $9.99 rental, and I get it for the month. It's not a watch once and you're done, but maybe it's there, so I like it so much, I want to watch it a second time, or maybe I rent it one day and I don't have the time to watch it, I'll go back later on, whatever the fuck. I really would, I think that's personally, even as somebody who's not hardcore, I think there's a lot of value in that, because now I get to spend $10, which is less than I'd spend at the movie theater. Yeah, I'm not getting the movie theater experience, but I don't need the movie theater experience for fucking...
you already have HBO.
Yes, but I already have... Exactly, but it's already there, and I get that for HBO content. But I'm not... But if I'm not... HBO doesn't come with magically, normally, with The Matrix 4, Dune, The Suicide Squad, etc., etc. So HBO comes with Game of Thrones and other HBO content, but it doesn't come with this. If you're gonna come and tell me, I mean, the $30 for Mulan, that was like literally egregious, beyond belief. And even if it wasn't on top of Disney's platform, I still would have told you that for watching it from home, $30 is too much to ask for a rental for a movie. But if you're at home and you're not getting the movie theater experience and you pay $9.99, even if you've got a $14.99 subscription that you're enjoying other content already on the regular within HBO, then yeah, if HBO had zero other content, so let's say HBO Max had zero other content, it wasn't Game of Thrones and the other programs that they produce on like Ballers and all that shit. Let's say that none of that shit existed, and it was just for movie platform shit where movies come out. If they were charging you $14.99 a month for just the base service, and you were renting, and you had to rent for $9.99 per movie, then yes, that would be, to me, a problem. But since you're already,
I get it.
Yes.
I'm with you. But what I'm trying to say is, not everybody already has HBO.
No,
right?
No.
Millions and millions and millions and millions of people that would love to go and watch these movies don't have HBO Max.
So from HBO's perspective, obviously this is the easiest move for them to do, is to not offer to have to also pay, because it gets more people on HBO Max. So for HBO, they make lots of money. I'm talking about this from the perspective of the producers of the movies trying to make decent money where it's not going to be in theaters because COVID is raping everyone in the butthole. That's what I'm talking about. So for HBO, it's a no-brainer.
Thanks, because I thought we were talking about...
It's a no-brainer for HBO. If HBO can go to these guys and to Warner Brothers and say, hey, will you give us this shit for like, and not force us to put another rental on top. For HBO, it's a win-win-win-win-win-win-win scenario, because it's basically showing for people that it's like or incredible value. But in the context of where we just talked about Tenet, that's like a $200 million budget movie without advertising that just went out and made $300 and some million, which means they might have broke even if they were lucky.
Yeah, not even.
Right? So like, because you usually double the budget, so they're probably 50 to 100 million short.
They did a shit ton of advertisement, then the movie didn't come out, then they did more advertisement, the movie didn't come out, then they're like, fuck, we already spent $100 million in advertisement, we should probably release this movie.
Exactly. I mean, so from that perspective... that perspective, as a consumer, understanding what's going on here for these movies, you charge me $9 fucking godforsaken dollars.
Adam, the vast majority of people don't think like you, right? They're not like, oh, you know what? It's real rough times out there in Corona because everybody else is suffering. They're going, fuck you, bro. Poor fucking movie industry. Oh, fucking poor Christopher Nolan. You only made $30 million base salary on this directing of this movie. Oh man, how fucking tough. They don't give a fuck. They're going, you know what? This is free to stream on another platform. I'm going to do that 9 times out of 10.
Those people are doing that anyway. Those people that don't, I would argue. I would argue. Let me finish it before you go off like we're on fucking some weird Fox News network. Calm yourself down. I would argue that if you don't already have HBO Max, and they know that they have to now spend $14 in the States or $20 in Canada to get HBO Max to watch The Matrix 4 or Dune, that they're also likely to still be the people, knowing that it's going to be available to stream on Plex in the first 24 hours, to just go to Plex and do it if that's their thing, where they're like, fuck you, it's hard times. I don't want to spend $20 to fucking do this shit, especially if it's a monthly fee.
Wrong.
Why?
It's a big assumption.
Why is that a bigger assumption than the fact that they would spend it?
I am fully willing to pay for Tenet.
Okay.
And I have Tenet available to me right now.
Okay. So just like me saying that I'm willing to pay $9.99, this is no more crazy to think that or it's no more of a crazy thing than you to say. That's what I'm saying. So like, why is it?
I'm willing to pay. I'm willing to pay. If Tenet was available right now,
sure,
gets my money.
Okay.
It's not available right now.
Okay.
So there is a high probability that I'm going to just stream Tenet and I'm going to see it for free.
So what makes you think that you're representative of the vast majority of people?
Because the vast majority of people, if they have an option to get something for free and the quality isn't changed, then they're going to take that, especially if they have to pay for a rental on top of a subscription based. It's just the way it is.
Yeah, so
not everybody is like.
So if you separate, so if you separate having to not, so let's like what I said. So if you're not renting on top of HBO service and you don't have HBO, and the day comes, so this is the release of The Matrix 4, and you know that your options are go to a movie theater because they're releasing it in the movie theater, or they're releasing it on HBO the same day.
Yeah.
And so you know that you either go to the movie theater and spend the money there, or you spend the money on HBO. But you also know that it's available on Plex at the same time for free. Which of those three options are people going to take?
I would say the far likelihood of people are going to watch it for free.
Okay.
Unless they already feel as though there's enough content on HBO that they were already on the fence type thing. Like, yeah, you know what? There are some stuff on there because people will make that decision. People will go, you know what? I haven't seen Game of Thrones yet, or hey, I really want to watch Ballers, or hey, I really want to watch this, or this. I haven't really pulled the trigger yet, and now this Wonder Woman movie is gonna, make me pull the trigger.
That's my point that I'm making. Is that if they don't already have it, if HBO's hope is to get as much people as possible because they're not charging a rental fee, then my argument, my argument is that the people that would have likely watched it for free anyway are unlikely to. There are very few that are likely sitting there going, okay, this is what's going to make me not watch it on Plex, is that I don't have to pay a rental on top of HBO. If they already have HBO, then yes, that makes sense. But if they don't, and that's HBO's hope is to pull in a bunch of people by providing these movies, then they're likely still going to end up just seeing it on Plex and not spending the $15 to $20 a month on HBO to watch it.
Yeah, I've already said this. I've already said this is why it's free. I mean, the original conversation is I don't know why they don't slap $9.99 on it. That's where all this started. Because that's why I changed. That's why I said, man, you have a thing where you'd say one thing.
No, seriously, I'm not. If you go back and
switch, like it's really, I make a point.
Yes, I'm not even trying to make you wrong. I literally said, okay, so assuming that if we take the rental out of it and we're just talking about HBO because that was what we want to talk about, HBO making that much money off of getting subscriptions. I'm not moving the goalpost. I'm just saying, okay, we made that point. We finished that conversation. Now we're talking about if it's not rental and it is about HBO, because your point was that you feel that HBO is providing this for free because they want to get their subscriptions, which I agreed was genius for them because it's win. Like I said, it's win. As you remember me saying, for HBO to get this. The idea is that for me, what I'm proposing in that scenario is that I feel like it's still not going to be super effective because it's still going to be available for free on the same day for the reasons that you brought up, where because it's being streamed, it will go to Plex in the same quality immediately. Yes. So that's what I'm proposing here. It's just a side conversation from what we already finished.
I get it, but there's going to be more people that are going to pay the $20 for HBO to have the movie and the shows and everything else, opposed to if you slap the $9.99 fee on it. If you add that extra fee on there, people are going to go, well, fuck this. I'm only getting HBO for this movie right now and the possibility to watch a few shows. What HBO's doing is what you just said. Is they're trying to get their subscriptions up. They go, okay, if I put this on HBO and I get people to pay, it's going to end up like a Disney Plus thing. It's going to fail horribly. If I just put it underneath this HBO umbrella, now we have an extra selling point and we keep our current HBO customers ultra happy because they get a bunch of free movies on top of this for the next year. Everything is great. Yes, The ones that aren't interested in HBO, they're going to pirate this movie.
Yes.
That is exactly why I said the theaters are still going to survive, and they're important, and why this will only last a year. Because even though their uptick will happen with the subscription bases, which is great, not everybody that wants to watch the movie is going to do it for free. In fact, more people are likely going to pirate this movie than pay the $20 for the HBO thing, because it is going to be free on the internet at the same quality. And your argument was, well, why would you think that they'd be more likely to do that other than to pay? And it's just because it's free and the quality isn't different. And the vast majority of people just want to watch the high quality. That's why a lot of the casuals go to the movie theaters, is because they want to watch that movie and be part of the conversation now. If they can do it for free, they're going to do it for free, even if they've got all this extra content with HBO. That's why they're going to do it. And that's why the movie still won't be as successful if they release it in theater and HBO at the same time. And it'll be even less successful if they put a paywall behind the subscription to HBO, like what Disney Plus did, and it failed horribly. If Disney Plus's Mulan made a shit ton of money at $30, $20, $10, believe you me, HBO would have made a $10 paywall behind the HBO subscription, but it did horribly, and everybody learned from it. They're like, we're not doing that. Because we've got great movies.
Yes, because when HBO sat down with Warner Brothers, and Warner Brothers said, hey guys, we're looking for a streaming partner to release our shit because we have to get this shit out the door. And we can't give it to you for free. We're going to have to make a split here on whatever many views. We're going to have some sort of cut here for what's going on. We literally can't just give you these movies for free. But at the same time, like you were mentioning, we learned from Mulan, and maybe $30 on top of subscription is a terrible life choice for HBO. I don't think it's the end of the world for the movie theaters. Not $30 is a terrible life choice. That's why I said, maybe $10 would make more sense. But somebody ran the numbers, obviously, where they said if we did this for free, and free, I'm going to put free for the customer, not free for HBO. HBO is going to be paying a percentage of their monthly dues to Warner Brothers for having this content on their platform. That's how this works. And the hope for HBO is that they retain X% of the new customers they get from these movies being on HBO in the future to recoup or make more money than they would have if these movies did not exist on the platform for that year. So when HBO sits down and does that, they come up with that idea. If it was just up to the movie, if it was just up to Warner Brothers, I'm sure Warner Brothers would have loved a scenario where they could say, okay, $30 was stupid as fuck. I don't know what Disney was thinking, but maybe $5.99, $7.99, $9.99. What do you guys think about that? And honestly, that was probably part of the conversation was, is it just $30 too much, or does it have to be completely free? And HBO would have sat down and said, all right, guys, here's what we think. Let's go volume. Let's say that we just give you guys this percentage on whatever.
I personally don't even think they're getting a percentage. I think HBO is just writing a check, a massive check, to have this content streamed on their platform, just like Netflix does. Get
but that's based on their that's based on an estimate of.
HBO,
so it's
HBO is going to lose a lot of money up front.
Yes,
it's going to be what Netflix does. They burn billions of dollars a year in debt. Just burn it. They're billions of dollars in debt. Netflix don't even make money right now. All they're doing is trying to get customers. That's it. And what better way to do it is to have all of Warner Brothers pictures go out on HBO Max. I highly doubt that they're like, hey, for every sign up, you're going to get $4. I think what it is, hey, you've got this Matrix movie. Here's the budget. They know the movie companies know how much they need to recoup. They figure, okay, listen, if we only get 25% of what we normally get in theaters, that is, $150 million. We're probably going to need to make another X amount of million. And then they probably just wrote a check, depending on the movie, and they're just rolling it out. And HBO has got $1 bajillion. So they're going, you know what? Fuck it. This is going to be our way to get those subscriptions. And then we're going to blast these motherfuckers once we have them, because we finally have content that people want to watch, and not just TV shows. These are theatrical big releases. I mean, Wonder Woman is going on Christmas Day on HBO Max, and it's going to be in 4K. HDR, which is insane.
It's going to be wild to see how, like, what the subscription for HBO does.
Oh, it's going to ramp up, and then it's up to HBO to keep these guys. And one of the selling points is we have all of Warner Brothers movies coming out, and they're going to be up for 30 days. So after 30 days, a new movie's probably going to come out like a month or two later. They'll strategically overlap it so that like you can't just get rid of your subscription and then re-up it in a little bit. It'll probably come on a certain date so that you're kind of forced to keep reoccurring the subscription to see these movies. There's going to be a strategic way on how they release them, and it's going to make it. And then it's up to HBO, not only just from the movies, but then to sell the client on the shows and be like, listen, I know you're here for the movie, but you should stay for the shows. And that is where they're hedging their bets likely.
So do you think, because HBO, for me, for example, HBO was basically Game of Thrones. Like I have it personally because as we've discussed in the past, Bell fucked it so hard that I have it for free until I'm like 90 years old. So I've got it one way or the other, but it was really only up front for years for Game of Thrones, and I'd cancel my subscription because I don't give a fuck about Ballers. I don't care about any of the other shows. I don't even know any other shows. My knowledge of HBO stops at Game of Thrones and Ballers, and that's like the entire catalog. So do you think that HBO takes their check that they're getting cut for this, which I suspect is a not small sum of money, and then turns it around and says, okay, this is a really good opportunity, as we're seeing Netflix do and Amazon Prime, of curating more and more individual content for just this platform and try to produce it within a window that makes sense. They've got a year that's a free pass because of all these movies. And unless it continued for whatever reason beyond that 1 year with either Warner Brothers or somebody else, that's their window to work with. Do you think that HBO in the next year announces more than their usual schedule that we're expecting of individual content that's just for HBO Max using this money? Or do you think they're going to continue to just kind of stay their course and take the money and just say, fuck it, we got this money, this is easy?
What money? Sorry, who's getting what money?
So do you think HBO is going to take the money that they're making from this deal and spin it into following...
I think they're going to lose money. I don't think they're going to make money here. I think the amount of money that they're putting in to get all of these
you don't think HBO is going to make their money back?
No. I think they're going to make their money back on the back end by getting those subscriptions that never would have came through and retaining those over a period of time.
Yes, that's what I mean. So like you would assume though that their hope is that within that 1 year is when they get their money back, because that's when the most subscriptions are going to come in. Yeah, because once this 1 year thing is over, I mean, that's it. Because once these movies are gone, there's no incentive anymore. So the new subscriptions happen in that 1 year window.
The shows though, and that's when HBO needs to go and
that's what I mean. So to retain them, like for me, what the fuck is on HBO? So what I'm saying is, do they now work diligently to build out a catalog so that people do stay now that they've got this year? Do you think that's what their plan is going to be?
And, you got more Game of Thrones coming. I mean, there is a master plan here. You've got a bunch of Game of Thrones spinoffs coming out. You're going to, as this big uptick happens and as the year continues, they're going to keep promoting these huge hit movies. People are going to go, fuck, I didn't get on board during Wonder Woman. Shit, I didn't get on board during Tom and Jerry, but I'm sure as hell get on board for The Matrix. And then they get on there, they go, oh, wow, okay, what shows are on here? Okay, Game of Thrones is on there. They've got Lovecraft Country, I hear is good. Watchmen's is on there. I'm trying to look at the Chernobyl's on there. Westworld is on there. They do have some movies. They have some shows. I think Billions is on there. At least it was. True Blood's on there. I mean, they've got some shows on there. It's not in Netflix, but there are quite a few people that watch HBO, and HBO has quality shows. It's not
that's
like
it.
Netflix.
It's not quantity, it's quality.
Yeah, where there's a whole bunch of fuckery on Netflix that you got to sift through. HBO, if there's a show on HBO, chances are it's pretty fucking good. But this is their shot. I mean, we don't know exactly what HBO has in the pipeline. We do know Game of Thrones and stuff is coming. But it's on them to then keep a portion of those people that they paid for to get Warner Brothers movies on there. And that's where they'll make their money up. They're not going to make their money up in 1 year from the subscriptions. The subscriptions that they're going to get from the upticks, say they got 10 million, it's probably more than that, but say they got 15 million more subscriptions. And, that's not going to be enough to cover how much they put in to get these movies and work this deal out with Warner Brothers. But if they can retain 6 of those over the next 2-3 years, then absolutely, if they could come up with some great shows and retain those and then have those people talk about to their friends and family, oh, you need to go and check out, the show, I don't know, Room 104, whatever the fuck that is, or, the new Game of Thrones is coming out. It's, you need to get HBO. Then that's where they're going to make their money. It's a long-term play. It's what Netflix does.
So what do you think? Yeah. So what do you think the dollar amount was for this? Because we've talked about movies that were like one-off deals, the ones that we've had up to this point, right? And there was that. What was the one that they were hunting around for somebody? It was a Tenet that they were looking for somebody to pay $600 million.
No, that was 007.
Oh, it was 007. So, so we know what some places think a single movie is worth, and now you're looking at this list. If you just had to take a fucking guess at what they paid for that, what do you think?
I don't know. I mean, Space Jam is probably relatively cheap, and that's a movie that you're probably gonna. The thing is, what makes this unique is they're still coming out in theaters.
Yes, yeah,
right. So think about it. Tenet still made $350 million.
Yeah.
Right?
So it's not the same as Bond, where Bond was going to go just for streaming.
And they were buying it.
Yeah.
Right? Yeah. They were owning basically the movie.
So it's not like The Matrix 4 is going to go for $600 million.
It's only 31 days, right? 31 days. And I guarantee you The Matrix 4 will then go on Blu-ray digital. They're going to sell it, right? HBO ain't going to get that money. This is a 31-day rental. They're renting the movie.
Yeah.
Matrix is still probably going to make $150 million, $200 million in theaters. And that's assuming today. I mean, in 6 months, when vaccines come out and people start venturing out a little bit more, the theaters are still going to be hurting. There's still going to be tons of people that aren't going to feel safe or just are out of the mindset of going to the theater. That just is not part of the regular routine. So, by the time Dune comes out or Matrix 4 comes out, they still might be making $250 million in theaters opposed to $700 million. And then say if HBO paid $100 million per box office movie to have it for 31 days, that hedges off some of the costs. And they still got Blu-ray, they still got streaming. I mean, I don't know. I don't know. I mean, this is above my pay grade. I don't really know the intricacies of the deal for one, and or there's no way in fuck HBO's giving them a percentage of subscriptions. That ain't happening. This is a play where they just wrote a check, and I bet you each check was different depending on the movie, because you're getting that, and the fact that they're bundling it all together, they probably got a deal, right?
I was going to say that I think that they paid mostly for a handful of these, and the rest of them just came along with it, right? I don't think, for example, that Space Jam entered the equation all that hard in terms of how much money they were paying for it.
Like Mortal Kombat. I mean, a lot of these movies are, $50 million, $70 million budget films that are only going to need to make $100 million, $125 million to break even.
Yeah.
When you're still releasing in theater and you're still releasing Blu-ray digital and you're only on a 31-day rental, essentially.
I think the majority of this came down to Matrix 4, Dune, The Suicide Squad, and maybe Malignant, because horror films are not that much of a budget, but they make a lot of money in theaters because they're not high budget. But James Wan obviously is proven to churn over a lot of money. Yeah. Stuff like that. And then I think they just said, all right, well, let's make a deal on that shit. Yeah, and then
it could literally be $1 billion, right? They might have paid.
I was thinking between 750 and a bill.
Well, I would say it's probably at least $1 billion. And the reason why, and it might even be more, because the thing is it's not necessarily it's not like they're buying it. They're using this as a funnel. You're basically paying to advertise, right? It's like if we had Joe Rogan on our podcast, right? And he was just going to show up once a month to be part of this. And we're like, all right, Joe, we can pay you a few $1 million or whatever, right? So pay you $1 billion to come on. Yeah, we're not going to make that $1 billion back in that run 1 year, but hopefully he's going to bring in so many eyes that now our sponsorships are going up, our money on the back end's going up, we have more retention. So, people are watching us more frequently. This is an advertisement play. That's all this is.
Well, this is really like, they would sit down. Think of it this way. If HBO sat down and said, all right, what's our marketing budget this year for getting people to join HBO Max? Yeah. Nothing that they could come up with for a marketing budget or a marketing spend is going to turn over more subscriptions than this. Yeah.
And
there's just nothing.
Their current content, right? So, think about this. In order for them to do what this is doing, they would need to go out and spend billions of dollars
to produce content,
producing the content, and then wait years to get there. Here, they can just pay for it, have this amazing content on there, and it's not like they've got like a grand slam of stuff here. I mean,
they've got 4 good movies.
They've got 4 good movies, right? You get one good movie every 3 months, right? It's not like it's not like they just got all of Marvel's movies that are coming out over the next year.
I don't think the crossover for The Matrix 4 and Tom and Jerry is all that high.
No, no. And so, the thing is they've got some bags here. They've got some good movies. But this isn't like this is really think honestly, just the press alone from this is worth its money in spades. This is unprecedented in the movie industry. Nobody does this. Nobody in the history of cinema to take this, make it for free, even though it's behind a paywall, right? To a lot of consumers, it's already free for the millions that already have HBO Max. But to have this in the comfort of your own home, I mean, it was a big deal when Disney Plus did it. This is an even bigger deal because you don't have to pay for the film. And you have 31 days to essentially watch it on the broadcast as well. That alone, I mean, just the marketing and having HBO Max in your face, the impressions on social media.
It's nuts.
The whole world is going to be watching literally on Christmas. There's going to be so many people. It's on an iconic day of movie theaters. Everybody goes to not everybody, but a lot of people go to the movies on Christmas weekend. It's just what you do. Everybody gets gift cards to go to the movie theaters to watch their favorite blockbuster. It's a tradition for many families to go to the movies. Now, Wonder Woman, of all movies, that is good for everybody, is going on HBO Max on Christmas, and you don't have to go to the theater to do it. You can have your Christmas dinner and then roll into a new tradition of watching your favorite of the movie you've been anticipating in the comfort of your own home. Oh, and if you have HBO, you get it for free. Whoa. I mean, that alone.
Again, for HBO, the value proposition is monstrous. It's just a shit show it's a shit show for Warner Brothers.
Yeah, but and they can afford to lose $1 billion, $2 billion. I mean, where are you going to get? You can't buy this. Apparently, you can. You can't buy this type of advertisement unless you're, I guess, HBO. then I guess you can. And the thing is it's helping both because you know who the loser is here? Warner Brothers.
Yes,
they're the ones that are not going to make what they normally make on the movies. They are not. They are trying to mitigate a loss here, and HBO is saying, hey, we'll love to be the platform to do it. And it's the perfect platform to do it.
HBO's walking in like, oh, hey, I'll give you an out. Yeah. Come on over here.
Netflix doesn't need to do this.
No.
They don't need this, right? HBO kind of needs this. And then on the other side, and also HBO is more of a...
HBO is closer tied to the movie industry than any other streaming platform.
It speaks more of quality, right? Now when Netflix has been dumbed down so much, and there's some good stuff on Netflix. I mean, there's some great movies on Netflix.
Yeah.
Netflix original. But it seems as though HBO is going for quality. When you come to and you watch a movie here, you're getting Matrix 4. You're getting Dune. You're getting Suicide Squad. You're getting Space Jam. You're getting Godzilla. You're getting, all of these quality films. You're not getting, Leg TV's Christmas Bash #4 on Netflix, that was made for, $20 and a large pizza. That you're not getting that. And I think that adds to the prestige of HBO, because HBO has kind of always been this upper enchilada of quality. It's like it just is. And there's it's kind of like going to a nicer restaurant. Netflix is, like a little bit better than McDonald's. It's affordable. It's always ready. It's fast. There's a lot of it. This is like, you got to venture out a little bit, and you're going to get a better quality product. And I think this is a good match for HBO. So anyway, big news.
So yes, technically speaking, Warner Brothers owns HBO Max as a thing, but just like anything, that doesn't necessarily mean that deals don't happen internal to the company. I mean, that's like when before they closed down Future Shop, there was a parent company that owned Best Buy and Future Shop, and they literally made them internally compete with one another. It was like one had fucking commission, the other one didn't have commission. It was who's going to get the more sale. Internal competition. People are getting things. It's just because a company owns a thing doesn't mean that there isn't intercompany deals and money is still being wheeled and dealed.
100%, dude. There's two vastly different divisions. I mean, you're talking about a film producing side of things with Warner Brothers, and then you've got a streaming service on another. It's like Disney, right? Disney has Disney Plus, and then you've got the Disney that is making movies, and you have the Disney that has the theme parks, then you have the Disney that does the cruise ships. They're all different companies within an umbrella, and there's cost to these things, and all Warner Brothers is doing is they're just mitigating their losses, and they're doing it in a smart way that they can get maximum out of it. And it just so happens that it's in-house, and so the losses are as minimal as possible, but they are taking an L here. I mean, they are losing money.
It's true. Mr. Black's time to move on to our next and last segment. It's time for
tech support.
Patreon.com/LikeTV, $10 a month or more will get you access to none of the movies we just listed. But what it will do is it will help us keep the heat on in the houses during the wintertime, while also giving you a few little goodies, and one of those being the ability to ask us questions each and every week on a post that we call Tech Support, put up just before the podcast. And then we answer as many of those as we can in any given week. Let me just pop this bad boy open here. Luz Caboose asks, you're forced to spend a day with either Tom Cruise or Amber Heard. Who do you choose?
Oh, Tom Cruise.
It's Tom Cruise.
That's not even hard. That's not even a hard answer to give.
I'll just make sure to not mention Scientology for the entire day, and everything will be just fine.
It was an unclothed.
I'm still saying Tom Cruise.
I'm not.
And we find out he's standing on a soapbox the whole time.
He's got stilts.
Let's see here. Oh, well, here you go. Jorbach, what are three important things that you'd look for in a new streaming platform? I think he's referring to probably, I'm guessing, Jorbach, if you're here, do you mean like Twitch, YouTube, whatever, like what we would like the three pillars of a streaming platform that we would be interested in? Or are you talking about HBO Max kind of streaming platform? Just wanted like clarification on that, if only because we just took some time talking about that situation. I suspect it's probably
gaming
related. Yeah. So what are the three big pillars in a streaming platform that you as a content creator, Mr. Black, look for or want to see in the platform that you're taking part of?
Viewership. So that's number one. If there's no viewership, that's the show. So discoverability. And I mean, obviously, we need the back end. We need to have the ability to do sort of the boring business related stuff as easily as possible, right? I need to be able to see how much I'm making, be able to, file certain things. I need to be able to do the clips and delete things and have the ability to have control over it's probably the thing I'm looking for is I need the ability to do the administrative stuff and be able to do it quickly on my own. So just having the freedom to do those things, like those three things, you have a streaming platform.
Yeah, I'm going to assume that viewers are just kind of part of the equation anyway, because without that, the platform doesn't exist in the first place. You're kind of fucked. So I'm just going to assume that there's for my answers, that viewership is there well enough to support content creators. And if that's there, and you're just talking about mechanically about the streaming platform, then yeah, back end is definitely on that list. As well as discoverability. So Jeff hit on two of the things that I would want as well. And then the last thing would be, if viewership is handled, the last thing that I would think is working with creators. So, Twitch talks a big game of working with creators. They haven't really done that all that effectively in a very long time.
They'd have just only select ones.
Yeah, and that tends to lead to some pretty poor decisions that go over terribly every time you do it. And you end up making decisions that you end up backpedaling on later because you didn't take your content creators seriously, or you didn't talk to enough of them on your platform. The best parts of Twitch in the early days was that more of a open dialogue between the content creators and the platform developers, because it led to a lot of some of the better things we got in early days on Twitch. The moment you take that away and you just rely on the employees of the company trying to guess their way through what people want or what will go over well, you're going to have a hit once in a while, but most of your shit's going to be bad. We watched that with Twitch more recently, where Twitch is now trying to go backwards a bit and trying to get people more involved and taking that kind of interaction more seriously. I watched it internally with Hitbox when it first started up and was capitalizing on Twitch not doing it, and Hitbox being very interactive with people, and Hitbox having a legitimately decent platform for about a calendar year before they stopped listening to people and didn't put any attention to the things that the content creators were trying to guide them on, and then the platform quite literally collapsed and they had to sell out and just walk away, and only two people made like a handful of dollars on the entire site, and then it went away. And you know where else that happened? Microsoft's own fucking thing. When they spent all that money and they put that new manager in place, and we watched that video eons ago, and we saw the management style and how that wasn't going to involve content creators and ignoring them, and it was no longer about community interaction. When you're an up and coming platform, especially, you're dead in the water. You've already lost, and so Mixer's gone. It's dead. Twitch got away with it because it was in its own fucking world for nearly half a decade before anyone of any size stepped into the game, and it took YouTube like 2 or 3 years to even get its feet underneath of it, and that's YouTube, who's monstrous. And so you gotta, so that's 100%. The moment you stop listening to content creators and you think that you just know fundamentally how it all works and you don't take you don't use their expertise, the thing that I don't know they've been doing as a career, and you think as a person that is working at a desk job at this fucking company somehow know better, you're gonna lose. And so those would be my three things. It'd be community focused and engagement with the content creators as the platform, discoverability, and an actual functioning back end that allows you to manage your content appropriately. Because as we've seen with Twitch, once again, and even on YouTube back in the day, without those tools, all it does is create massive headaches for everyone. Creates headaches for the platform, even bigger headaches for the content creators, and so you avoid all that with a functioning back end. And again, you'd avoid a lot of that because if you listen to your content creators, because for how many years were people asking for all the tools that Twitch is only now just trying to friggin' scramble to provide? Mm-hmm. Twitch's own internal guy that wrote Twitch's support system, which was originally for Justin TV, tried to get this stuff to happen in 2014-15. And they didn't even listen to him. So, I mean, that's what you're looking at. Lazy Phoenix asks, what are your favorite personal and professional sporting moments? I can give you a couple of examples. So, I think it was the Masters, Tiger Woods chip from off the green that was up to the top side of the green, and he fucking he ran the green curve all the way down to the hole, and then it hung on the edge of the fucking cup for like a full second, and then it dropped in. Everyone held their breath, and it dropped in, and everyone fucking erupted, and Tiger's doing the fist pump and shit, and it was just wild. This is one of the craziest golf moments I've ever seen. Beyond that, I would say, watching Michael Jordan win the championship after his father passed away was a big one for me growing up as a kid. That was a major moment, one of the most special for me. And then another one would be probably when Canada won the Olympic gold for hockey when Sidney Crosby put in the goal from like the fucking corner of the rink, and it was like a straight shot on the side of the net, and it was what was called the golden goal because it got us gold. And it was just a shot that had no right going in, but it was Sidney Crosby who at that point, just like Tiger or just like Michael Jordan, could not fuck up. Literally got on the ice and dominated. It was just Sidney Crosby's life, and watching that moment was pretty incredible. So I would say, just quickly off the top of my head, those are probably three ones for me.
So he wants 3?
Yeah. I mean, if you don't have 3, don't worry about it.
I don't know. I mean, I'm probably gonna go with the Michael Jordan one as well. Same moment, pretty iconic. I really enjoyed Holly Holm kicking Ronda Rousey in the face. That was pretty wild and unexpected. And I'm also gonna go with I gotta go with Stone Cold Steve Austin versus The Rock. I gotta bring it back to wrestling here because I guess it's sort of sports entertainment.
It's true.
Their iconic fight that they had when they first banged it out was also a pretty big sports moment in my childhood, which was pretty epic. And one that like I enjoyed watching with my dad and stuff. So I'd probably go with those 3.
Forlorn Egoist asks, you're directing a buddy cop movie. Everyone loves a good buddy cop movie. Cast these 4 roles: the good cop, the bad cop, the villain, and the captain who's just too old for this shit.
So a good cop,
a bad cop, the villain, and then the captain, the police captain who's just too old for this shit.
Damn.
I'm gonna go with let me see.
Man, a bad cop. Like a crooked cop type thing?
Well, there's usually like in a buddy cop movie, one of the guys is the good cop, one of the guys is the bad cop, and then like in terms of the good cop, bad cop routine
Gotcha.
kind of thing.
Um, Geez, this is something you need time to think about. I'm gonna go with for the good cop. Oh man.
All right, I'm gonna start with Captain who's just too old for this shit. I'm going Bruce Willis. That's my I think he's just hitting about that age now and he's done roles like that in the past in terms of being on the good cop bad cop side, but now he's just the captain and now he's just too old for this shit. And a lot of the comedy in Bruce Willis movies already came from him just being like
So it's a comedy?
it's a buddy cop movie, so it's probably comedy.
All right.
So Bruce Willis for I'm too tired of this shit or I'm too old for this shit is the captain. I'm going to make the villain. I'm going to make the villain Mads Mikkelsen.
Okay.
He looks like a villain. He does a good villain. And he's got just like his humor is just kind of right for a villain in a good cop, bad cop kind of a movie. So I'm going to go Mads Mikkelsen is the villain for this comedy, whatever, with the captain being Bruce Willis. And now I got to do let's see, we need a good cop and a bad cop. I mean, you got to do it. The bad cop is Jason Statham. You got to fucking do it. I'm making Jason Statham the bad cop. Now I need a good cop. Who's my good cop gonna be? Fuck me. Oh.
Damn. Good cop, bad cop.
Fuck, I just need a good guy. Shit. Chris Evans isn't coppy enough. He would do a similar role well, but not a cop. Like he plays he's obviously the good guy for Captain America, but good cop. Fuck. Chris Pine. Chris Pine is good cop. Jason Statham, bad cop. Mads Mikkelsen is the villain, and Bruce Willis is the captain that's just too old for this shit.
All right. The captain I'm going for just too old for this shit. I'm going Arnold Schwarzenegger.
That's a good one. I like it.
The bad cop. So there's good cop, bad cop, and just too old.
Is good cop, bad cop, the captain who's the archetype of I'm just too old for this shit, and then there's the villain.
Okay, so Arnold Schwarzenegger is just too old for this shit.
Okay.
So there's only 3, right?
Good cop, bad cop, captain, and villain.
Okay, yeah, the villain. That's the one I'm forgetting.
Yeah.
All right. So villain. Okay, so good cop. I'm going with bad. You know what? I'm going to go bad cop, Leonardo DiCaprio.
Okay.
Just because I think he could play a bad cop and play a bad cop well, but also be funny.
Okay.
Villain. Let me go with the good cop. That'll work well beside Leo. Man.
You gonna do a a reunion to make Jamie Foxx the good cop?
No. Jamie Foxx would be a good villain, but I would go a good cop to go to Leo's bad cop.
Oh, fucking Mark Ruffalo. I think those two. I think Mark Ruffalo and fucking Leo would be.
That'd be pretty good. That would be
pretty good.
Yeah. See, I'm trying to make it so that the movie. I'm trying to visualize a movie that is like serious enough, but it isn't like a full blown comedy. Like I don't want it to be like the other guys where you had Mark Wahlberg and Will Ferrell, right? And it was just like a complete comedy, which was good.
Aim for the bushes.
But I want something that like would have like some serious action, but also like it's you know what? Good cop. I'm gonna go with Ryan Reynolds.
Okay.
So Ryan Reynolds as the good cop, Leo as sort of the bad guy that Ryan has to kind of hold back a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
Arnold Schwarzenegger is still the captain because he's gonna be the guy that kind of brings the movie down some, in terms of like some comedic relief to make it not too serious.
Mm-hmm.
And then the villain, I'm gonna go with I'm gonna go with this villain. It's kind of a cheat because he already played a villain, but I think he would work well with these other guys. I'm going with Idris Elba as the villain.
That's a good pick. I like that pick.
So you've got three great actors playing a buddy cop movie that's sort of serious, kind of like on more of the.
If I had to merge our two picks, I would say I think Ryan Reynolds is good. So I want to see a Ryan Reynolds and Jason Statham buddy cop movie first of all, because I think those.
You know what? I think that works better than him and Leo. I just kind of want to see him and Leo together. Yeah, I would go. Yeah,
I think that's the merge.
That's a good buddy cop movie right there. That's a lot better. Arnold Schwarzenegger as the captain. I mean, he's still big. Like, he's seen some shit.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like he's done it. And maybe Leo for the villain. I like that.
I can do a Leo villain.
Yeah. There you go. I like that. There it is.
See, now I really want to see Ryan Reynolds and Jason Statham do a movie together. I'm not gonna lie, I'm just on a Jason Statham kick. I've been watching a lot of Jason Statham movies.
Hey, I like Jason Statham.
And you know what I noticed? Having not watched, like I watched a handful, of his movies in the past, but you know what I noticed? Whoever's directing a lot of his films, they're not quite there, but they're fucking up. Like some of these fight sequences are approaching John Wick level of fucking fight sequence. Like some of the ways he's dispatching his enemies is fucking unique, well done. And the dude, Jason Statham's an actor that like kind of I wouldn't want to ever fuck with in reality. He looks like he could do some of the shit that he does in the movies that he plays. Like he strikes me like a dude who knows how to handle himself already. And when you watch him doing the choreography in the movies, it looks like it comes naturally to the motherfucker. It looks like it's just something that he can just do if he wanted to. It looks like he could fuck somebody up. But yeah, either way, I think that's great. Ryan Reynolds and Jason Statham, somebody get on that, for God's sake. Make that happen.
That's a good pairing. That's good chemistry right there.
Absolutely. Zen Matey, and this is real. I've retweeted a couple of these. Lots of people with obviously their Spotify watch list stuff for the year have showed us how many minutes of Technical Alpha they've listened to, which is just wild that we've done even that many minutes in the first place, and let alone they listen to it. Zen Matey says, "Hey guys, just wanted to tell you that I got my yearly Spotify rewind, and apparently I listened to 5,290 minutes of you guys talking about random stuff. In reality, it was probably more, as this just does not take into account the episodes I've watched on YouTube. You've been part of making lockdowns, isolations, and every other struggle this year a lot more bearable. Thank you." Hey, thank you, Zen Matey. And to everyone else who's been listening to that much fucking Technical Alpha, I don't know what it's done to your brain. I hope it hasn't completely melted it. But I appreciate, and Jeff appreciates a great deal, everyone that takes the time to continue to support this podcast, whether you're just a listener or you're on that Patreon, or you're helping spread the word, letting people know, no matter what you're doing. It's awesome to be able to still be doing this shit 3 years deep. 180th episode today. That's not including the side episodes and specials we've done. That's a banger. That's a fucking banger. You guys are awesome. All right, let me find a question here to end on. Here's one. Okay. Neil Pring asks, what is the biggest 180 you've ever seen someone do? Mentally, emotionally, or physically? It doesn't really matter. We just need to stay on topic, or do we? So what's the biggest 180 you've ever seen somebody do? I know I can think. I won't say their name. I'll try and describe it to you, because you would probably be able to know who it is once I describe it to you. It's somebody that we knew from our StarCraft past. Okay? They were at Anaheim. And on the shorter side, and was, I would describe this person at the time as being a bit wild, big into drinking, and enjoyed a little bit more than that, and looked like the entire weekend, it looked like they were just on like they were just hanging on for dear life. And so did the friend that they brought with them at the time, actually. And then years later, years later, I hadn't talked to this person more than a couple times over the years. Still, like, once in a while, poke in, they'll say hi, whatever, talk to them on Facebook. But, like, turned into a full-blown bodybuilder. Went completely clean and just blows up the gym 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. And that happened in pretty short order. So that was probably the biggest 180 I saw somebody do. From like complete party animal and just the YOLO fuck it lifestyle to like basically completely clean and just gym bro out of their mind. No, it's not Husky. No. It's dead. It's not Husky.
Complete 180. Jeez. I don't know. I can't think of one. Something that I go, wow, that's this complete 180. Couldn't tell you.
All right, then I'll give you this one to end on, since it's easier for you to answer.
All right.
Gallenson asking, irrespective of how good the movie or video game, book, or whatever was overall, what was your favorite or most memorable scene from like a movie or a book or a game or whatever? What's the one that stands out to you? And what was what was your experience seeing that for the first time, or experiencing that for the first time? What was the thing that blew your mind?
Most memorable. I mean, one that always stands out for me is Darth Vader saying that, Luke, I am your father. It's pretty iconic. And my dad got me into Star Wars, and we watched it on VHS, and Dad knew the whole time, and I had no idea. And almost like Dad was watching me.
Yeah, waiting for the reaction
to the news, right? And I just remember that. And I remember looking at Dad like, no way. And he's like, yeah. I remember that. I remember the house we were in. I remember very vividly. So yeah, I'll go with that.
I've got a couple. I've got all sorts. The one I always mention for like gaming is Morrowind leaving the office, and then the message pops up, and it's like, basically, you're on your own now. Good luck. It blew my mind. But I'll pick a different one. I've probably mentioned this on the podcast before as well, but I'll use it for this example too. Is that the one for a movie that sticks in my mind, even though there's a million I can think of, probably if I sat down here long enough, is, despite the fact that Jeff and I had gone to a lot of movies when we were younger, the only movie that had us sit in the theater, after the movie was done and we sat there through the entire credits, was The Last Samurai. We literally watched The Last Samurai, and both of us were so mind fucked by how good the movie was, having not expected The Last Samurai to be anywhere near as good as that was. And we sat there in shock and watched the credits for the entire time and then left the movie theater, and all we could talk about was The Last Samurai for like friggin' the next 3-4 months. It's probably that. The next closest one to that, in terms of movies, again, Jeff and I are younger, and Em and I just watched the second and third Matrix movies here this week. And I was trying to describe to Em, I was like, look, I understand that this doesn't look like anything special right now. It was Matrix 3 and Revelations and or Revolution, whatever the fuck, I can't remember what it is. And it was an IMAX movie. And Jeff and I went to this in IMAX as kids, and it's the last fight scene in the movie, and it's Neo versus Agent Smith in the rain. And the most iconic Matrix movie for us that we would hum or sing out loud randomly for the next like fucking 6 years of our life.
Yes.
No Maya. That was in IMAX.
Yeah, we saw that with my dad.
We did. What IMAX in the rain and the music
that shit
and
was crazy.
That
crazy.
That fucked me right up. Yeah, the movie, I mean, people shit on Matrix 2 and 3, and yeah, they're not necessarily as iconic as 1, but there are some like set pieces, and that is a straight up set piece in 3/4. The music, the heavy rain. Hugo Weaving just fucking crushed that scene. It did, like when I watched it the other day, it didn't strike me at the time watching it or any other times before, but I was like, man, how annoying must it have been to do the acting in that shit. They were drenched out of their minds. It was like the hardest rain I've ever seen in a movie before. Just fucking pouring, and Hugo Weaving's like trying to deliver this performance. But yeah, that was a crazy experience. Probably before the interstellar black hole scene in IMAX, that moment was probably, it was like that, then Avatar, then Interstellar were like the three, but it wasn't like Avatar and Interstellar was because it was like a visual crazy, but
yeah,
it was everything about that fight scene was so epic, especially at that age, that I've never been so hype.
Yeah, I'm with you.
Crazy hype. All right, one more. I'll make it quick. No, not the question. One more that I just thought of right now.
Okay.
Was Endgame, Avengers.
Oh yeah, that was pretty epic too.
When they start coming through the portals, and they're all there, and it's Avengers assembled.
Bro.
That gives me.
Dude, I clenched my fist. I was like,
yeah.
I was like, I don't know, it did something in my body. Bro.
And I wasn't even big into those movies. Like I watched a lot of them. Like I probably watched 3/4 of them. But even then, they did such a good job with that build up to that scene and then the production of that scene that even I was just jacked out of my mind, bro. I watched it on Netflix. Em and I watched it on Netflix not long ago. It still got me jacked up watching that scene. So that's another good one.
It's fire. It's the perfect climax. Like when you it's like, it's like you're just about to nut. Like, you're just like, you're
on the verge of crying watching that shit. Like you're just there's so much emotion happening all at the same time. It's like
shit is fucking fire, bro. And they set it up so perfectly too, where Thanos like takes fucking Thor's hammer and like starts beating the fuck, and then the Captain America grabs Thor's hammer, and then
right at the it's the grab and then
it's like
it's so good.
And for a second I thought it was gonna be Thor, but he was fucked up. And then you see Captain America holding it, and then you just remember like back in the day when they did that thing where Captain America started pulling on it, and he moved it a little bit, and like knowing that he could have picked it up then, but he didn't want to. He didn't want to do that to Thor. Like he wanted Thor to still feel as though he was the only one that could. And it's just so much about Captain America's character and like how noble and honorable he is, and the fact that he did it when he had to. And in that moment, he wouldn't have done it otherwise. And then he just started wailing the fuck out of it like he's been using it
forever, and he's using his fucking shield at the same time, and his shit gets broken, and that ain't working, and then he's all fucked up, and he's like Thanos is gonna fuck everybody up, and then all of a sudden you hear it come through the comms, and then you fucking see Doctor Strange fucking portals come through, and you see Black Panther come out, and everybody goes Umbaya or Bombaya or Bombaya, what the fuck? And he's like, Avengers assemble, and I was like, oh
yeah,
and everybody just starts running, and fucking Thanos is there, and I mean, how much testosterone can you like? I felt my balls like grow, and it was just this testosterone charge through my whole body, and it was like everything, all these years just coming down to one fight. And it's the last movie and everything is on the line and you know who's going to win, but you don't care. You don't care, but you don't know who's going to die. And it's just like, oh man, it was great. It was that shit is iconic, bro. That shit is crazy good. I never had that reaction where I forgot I'm watching a movie. I'm too invested into this shit. It's just like I've never had that. I've seen some crazy shit in theaters, like Avatar. I remember seeing that and just be blown away by the 3D IMAX. And you're like, oh my god, what the fuck? Like seeing Pandora, and you're like, oh my god, I wish this was real life. And you like almost forget you're watching a movie. But never have I had this. Like I've cried in movies. I've gotten like angry at characters, but that scene in Endgame did something that was like I couldn't control the raw reaction. And like you see these videos on YouTube where fans are like cheering and clapping and shit during certain scenes. And I was always like, same with in Star Wars when like Luke Skywalker throws his stupid fucking lightsaber over there and people are, either laughing or whatever, right? Weirdly laughing or like, what the fuck? I never really did that all too much. The only time I ever really speak out during movies is like in comedies where you're like physically laughing. But this was the first time where I was like over.
You're overwhelmed.
Overwhelmed with emotion that like I couldn't control my reaction. It was just I felt like I was a kid. That's what Endgame did. So, was it the best movie in the world? It wasn't the best it was a damn good movie. It wasn't the best movie I've ever seen in the world. But man, that scene, that moment, it's up there.
It doesn't get much better. And you know what? To bring it all back to the conversations before, it was the experience.
Yes.
It was the experience.
You got your money's worth and some in that movie. Oh my God. Like I haven't been to like theme parks or been in like I've gone to UFC events and haven't gotten that type of entertainment and feel in that moment. And it wasn't just the moment, it was all the moments that happened where it all just came together like a fucking, I don't know how they did. I still don't know how Feige managed to construct what he did, but I mean, holy fuck. It's a masterpiece. He's going to go down as an absolute god. Now I want to go watch Endgame.
And on that note, ladies and gentlemen, that's it for this Technical Alpha. Thank you so much for stopping by and listening. Head on over to patreon.com/LikeTV if you want to financially support this bad boy and keep it going. We greatly appreciate all that support that you guys continue to funnel in each and every month. Spread the word about the podcast. If you think you know somebody that might like it, let them know about it. Link them up and have them watch some of your favorite moments of the show. YouTube.com/LifeSglitchTV2 is actually also where if you want to check out specific clips, our boy Mark puts together a curated list of a couple of the more popular topics each and every week and puts it up there. So if you just have a couple of minutes you want to watch something there, you can catch that there. Otherwise, thank you so much. And again, Bell Gang, Life's a Glitch TV. So youtube.com/Life's a Glitch TV. Hit the subscribe button, hit the bell icon so you get notified and then like and comment the first hour on these podcasts goes a long way. And thank you so much once again, guys, for those of you listening everywhere, Spotify, iTunes, here on Twitch, YouTube, and otherwise. You're all legends. We'll see you guys next week, and until we do, thank you once again. Stay safe, and peace!
Peace.